Bian City's imperial city. Elder Yun again rushed to the outside of the constant spirit hall. That girl that should have been accompanying Prince Zhao Heng blocked him outside the door. That pair of eerie pupils carried a trace of mischief. His Majesty is currently secluded to break through to Nebula late stage. He currently cannot be disturbed. It will do to inform I of the palace of any matters. The Clear Void Treasure Hall recently sent out a spirit treasure notice. This old man specially came to speak with His Majesty. Elder Yun cupped his fists. The spirit treasure notice was the Clear Void Treasure Hall's specially issued announcement when it would auction a very important item. Items that could send out a spirit treasure notice were always pretty good. With the previous spirit treasure notice, Zhao Heng took an earthly fiend great astral treasure, flying star shuttle. 2 at the Clear Void Treasure Hall. What is it this time? The girl asked inquisitively. Ancient 7th rank demon beast blooming water dragon. The girl was startled. Ancient 7th rank demon beast blooming water dragon? The Clear Void Treasure Hall surprisingly has this sort of good thing. Your Majesty is unaware that it already does not have a soul and internal alchemy. 3 Elder Yin explained. No soul and internal alchemy? Then it is useless to us. The girl very quickly lost her interest. Although a 7th rank dragon's dragon skin, dragon claws, dragon muscles, dragon organs, dragon horn, dragon blood, and the up and down of the intact entire body were all pretty good materials. They were only pretty good. Do you know who slayed this dragon? She was more interested in this. To kill a 7th rank demon beast definitely was not that effortless. Was using it for an auction not a bit too pitiful? I heard it is a Nebula early stage cultivator that walked into a happy encounter, Your Majesty. But that seller has a condition that is very interesting. When the girl did not ask, Elder Yin then smiled. He wants relic blade sand in exchange. Relic blade sand. The girl slightly changed. Relic blade sand was a type of spirit sand that a few star generals needed to increase their destined star weapons ranks before 2 stars. Is he a star master? The Clear Void Hall is maintaining their secrecy on this. This old man also was unable to investigate his identity. Elder Yin regretfully said, Think of a way to find what sort of person he is. The girl's voice turned cold. Being able to kill a dragon? I of the palace definitely do not believe in this sort of claim. His star general is definitely a heavenly star general. No matter what, investigate clearly the entire sequence of events. This old man shall command people to go do this. Elder Yin promptly said. 3 days' time passed in the turn of an eye. Like he had scheduled, Su Xing came to the Clear Void Treasure Hall. Daoist's cool breeze drew him into the Spirit Treasure Inner Hall. That was an immense white jade platform, and this time's dragon gathering would start here. Su Xing, who was acting as this time's seller, had been invited to the backstage area to witness the auction's course of events. The Clear Void Daoist promotion was truly amazing. Vast quantities of star cultivators walked in lines, and a single inner hall contained many thousands of people. Their cultivations were all at least at the Nebula late stage, and among them were even many galaxy stage cultivators, with even several supercluster Daoists. That lineup made Su Xing utterly speechless. Just with the admission fee, the Clear Void Daoists already earned a lot, and adding the profits after the event, this actually was only a highly profitable business. The several thousand cultivators very quickly crowded to capacity the Spirit Treasure Hall. This time's dragon gathering attracted the attendance of the Azure Dragon Territory's upper 1,000 schools. And no wonder it would be this rumbling. A 7th rank ancient demon beast, roaming about in the Azure Dragon Territory was very rare. Most often, they were at the Black Turtle Territory 5, or the Vermilion Bird Territory. These Azure Dragon Territory cultivators probably could not see a 7th rank dragon in their lifetime. The majority of cultivators were all attracted to visit this famous place, treating this as a way to spend a little on the admission ticket to glimpse the world, not even thinking of fighting with the other sections. The most important thing was that this sort of matter of bringing out the ancient demon beast to auction was actually quite uncommon. The Daoist Cool Breeze took it upon himself to be in charge of this time's auction, and it was only he who had this kind of cultivation realm that could repress the more than 1,000 cultivators so indifferently. With a wave of his long sleeves, The platform's white curtain was pulled aside, and a several tins of Zhonglong dragon was awe-inspiringly revealed. The whole audience went into an uproar. A few low cultivation cultivators were all greatly shocked. Even if it was a dead blooming water dragon, that gigantic dragon's imposing figure still preserved an abundance of power. Just what deity could kill the dragon? So this is the ancient demon beast blooming water dragon. It doesn't look that special? What an amazing grandeur! Even in death, it is this terrifying. Pity it doesn't have internal alchemy and a soul. The crowd discussed animatedly whispered, nitpicking this blooming water dragon. This is a dragon carcass obtained through luck by a fellow. Even if it does not have internal alchemy and a soul, everyone presumably knows the worth of the rest of the materials on this dragon body. Taoist Cool Breeze stroked his long beard, his expression calm. This time's auction seller specially requests for relic blade sand, so the fellow that can bring forth relic blade sand of the highest value will have priority in choosing what part they want from the dragon. Taoist Cool Breeze was an old fox, splitting this dragon into 7 pieces to auction. Dividing it in this way, the profits that were earned would greatly increase. It seems it will be a famous family since shelling out money is not at all inexplicit. Wu Xingji guessed. Su Xing deeply held the same impression, however. He did not care about maximizing profits. The audience very quickly began to bid. Relic blade sand 1 liang. A large man in a yellow gown shouted. Only 1 liang, yet you have the nerve to shout. 3 liang of relic blade sand with the addition of 300,000 liang of gold. I want this dragon head. A stooped-over old crone laughed evilly. Ancestor Chill Wind. 6 Only 3 liang of relic blade sand isn't enough to give a star general refining her star weapon fur clothes. A lady 7, wearing a blue palace dress coldly opened her mouth. 5 liang of relic blade sand and 500,000 liang of gold. What use has your Rosy Clouds Mountain 8 for a dragon? The old crone was resentful. This dragon is affiliated with water. Isn't it useless if Ancestor Chill Wind takes it? The lady from Rosy Clouds Mountain disdained. 6 liang of relic blade sand. Yellow Dragon Mountain 9 wants to use the dragon head to decorate the stronghold. How about you two fellows not squabble like this? The large man in the yellow gown was discontented. The tiny yellow dragon mountain also wants to obtain an ancient demon beast. Take care of inviting disaster upon yourself. The hall resounded continuously with the sounds of bidding. Besides the internal alchemy and soul, the dragon head was the most valuable portion. Regardless of whether it was used to manufacture artifacts, soul weapons, tin refining material, or for magic circles, decorations and the like, it was extremely useful and versatile. As a result, when the Taoist Cool Breeze said that the highest bidder could take away whatever part they wished, this made those cultivators fly off the handle. The seemingly vague and refined Taoist Cool Breeze was truly shrewd. No wonder he became the Clearvoid Treasure Hall's senior shopkeeper. Su Xing monitored those whirlwind prices, bursting with joy. The more intense they were, the better. What made Su Xing click his tongue in amazement was that he did not expect the originally precious relic blade sand to be this plentiful. These schools probably also intentionally stockpiled relic blade sand, waiting for the star duels to intensify in order to make easy money. Ancestor Chill Wind, the Rosy Clouds Fairy, and that large man from Yellow Dragon Mountain were the fiercest 3 competitors. The final prices they shouted made the rest of the people all blush in shame endlessly. Contrarily, the 10 great sects all made no movements. A 7th-ranked demon beast was far from being enough to attract these large schools. That dragon head was not essential, so they naturally were not that energetic. Just when Ancestor Chill Wind used 10 liang of relic blade sand and 1 million liang of gold to beat out the other 2, an icily arrogant voice suddenly echoed. 20 liang of relic blade sand, 2 million liang of gold. This old man wants this entire dragon. Everyone cried out in surprise, seeing only an old man, wearing a blue Taoist robe floating high in the air. His eyes were like thunder and lightning, with a reserved grandeur, dignified and insufferably arrogant. The Blooming Water Sword Sect. Since it is the Blooming Water Dragon, it naturally must return to this sword sect. The old man coldly swept past the bidding individuals, forcing them to bow their heads in a panic. 20 liang of relic blade sand and 2 million liang of gold. And he wants to take away the whole dragon. Then isn't that a big loss? Wu Xinjie thought that this bastard, 11 really could plan. Don't worry, there will be people to settle it. Su Xing calm and unruffled in the midst of this chaos. Not at all worried there would be a loss. Ancestor Bailey, 12, how do you do? What wind has made you exit seclusion? The Taoist cool breeze smiled as he spoke. This old man came out to move about a bit to help my descendant disciple. 13. This old man heard about the blooming water dragon and came here with the express purpose of seeing it. Don't know who the fellow is that quite killed the dragon dead. This old man really wants to make friends with that one. Ancestor Bailey's voice revealed a biting cold killing intent. The blooming water dragon and this school have a considerable relationship. The Taoist should help this old man with this. And someday, this old man will definitely visit your home to pay his gratitude. Does this not make the Taoist darken his conscience? In the future, who would wish to approach this clear void treasure hall? The Taoist's cool breeze lightly smiled. Do not bring this matter up any further. The clear void treasure hall has the clear void treasure hall's rules. Ancestor Bailey, if you wish to use 20 liang of relic blade sand to exchange for the head, then this Taoist will not force you. Humph. Ancestor Bailey coldly grunted. 11 liang of relic blade sand, 500,000 liang of gold. This ancestor wants that dragon head. Old crone Chill Wind was somewhat resentful, but had no alternative. The three people did not dare to argue with him further, and indeed, he could not be argued against. The ancient dragon's head, tooth for an edge, pupil for a pill, brain for a fluid, tongue for a medicine medium, tisk tsk. Only 11 liang of relic blade sand. And you want to take away such a good thing. How about this? I of the palace shall give 12 liang of relic blade sand, and a life origin pill. 14, how about it? A ridiculing male voice with hardly any misgivings interrupted Ancestor Bailey's beautiful dream. The one who spoke was a refined, graceful and elegant youth, his lips red and teeth white, an attractive appearance. Su Xing saw his cultivation was only at galaxy early stage. Confronting the supercluster stage ancestor, by Li with actually hardly any dread, it seemed his background was not insignificant. Li Xianyan, you also wish to argue with this ancestor? Ancestor Bailey was annoyed. My instructor recently wanted to find a dragon's severed head for use to watch the door, and he implores that ancestor be sympathetic. Li Xianyan very respectfully smiled. Ancestor Bailey had not yet replied when another cold voice suddenly sounded out. Since the dragon's severed head is this valuable, then I shall spend 13 liang of relic blade sand, as well as a chi dust pill. 16 this time, it was a mischievous girl, wearing a white muslin and exquisite skirt, with brows like the moon and red lips like cherries. She was very good looking. The 9 ordeals Taoist, 17, wants to use it as a medicine medium, and my elder sister also wants to use the blooming water dragon head as a bedpan. 18, the other cultivators erupted into a clamor. Things had only just begun, yet the 10 great sects already started to oppose each other with equal harshness, eagerly increasing the price. One was higher than the other, one pressured another. Regardless of whether it was a life origin pill or a chi dust pill, all were extremely precious medicines, able to be exchanged for several million liang of gold at the minimum. There were some cultivators that did not understand. It was only a 7th-ranked dragon head. Was it worthy of so high a price? A brilliant strategy. Wu Xinjie abruptly said softly. Su Xing asked her why. The woman that just made a bid is one from the Shifting Flower Sword sect. 19. That youth is from the Heavenly River Sword School. Wu Xinjie told a profound story with just a few words. It went without saying that the Heavenly River Sword School and the Blooming Water Sword sect had hostilities. The Shifting Flower Sword sect and the Blooming Water Sword sect were awfully busy constantly fighting over the 3rd rank among the 4 great sword sects. The 2 sword sects both were newly bloomed and meteorically rising schools, so naturally, neither was willing to stand behind the other. As it turned out, either taking this dragon known as Blooming Water to be used as a door guard or as a bedpan, Both would change this into a humiliation of the Blooming Water Sword sect. After all, the Blooming Water Dragon was the sword sect's holy beast. That Taoist cool breeze deliberately created this sort of situation, so that the price would increase. Su Xing nodded. No wonder that ancestor Baili hatefully gnashed his teeth. He actually enjoyed reaping harvest he himself had not sown, not minding that a dragon was selling for a sky-high price. Liang Feishuan. 20. Using the dragon's head as a bedpan, the price definitely will not be small. Ancestor Bailey's eyelids jumped. Showing a cold smile, he made a great wave of his hand, shouting, 20 liang of relic blade sand, 5 blooming water cultivating origin pills. 21. If you two can open with an even higher price, then this old man will leave this blooming water dragon to you. Li Xianyan and the shifting flower sword sect's female cultivator Liang Feishuan glanced towards each other. Li Xianyan originally raised the price in this way because he wanted to force Ancestor Bailey to use up all of his worth. His objective accomplished, he spoke no further. Liang Feishuan sneered. This immortal will also offer 20 liang of relic blade sand and 5 qi dust pills. Everyone was dumbstruck. Immediately, they were incomparably envious of the dragon's owner. The Taoist would like to ask for the seller's opinion. The Taoist cool breeze smiled. What is there to ask? The blooming water cultivating origin pill can only be used to cultivate the blooming water divine thunder for the purpose of solid cultivation. Giving it to other cultivators is but a waste. The qi dust pill, when absorbed into the body, can greatly promote cultivation. Is there any need to think? Liang Feishuan snorted. The spirit treasure hall was absolutely silent. 22. The fat shopkeeper entered to inquire about Su Xing's opinion. Of course, Su Xing chose the blooming water cultivating origin pill without hesitation. He was currently cultivating the blooming water divine thunder. Having this kind of amazing medicine simply was somebody sending a pillow when he was drowsy. Naturally, Su Xing currently was not that interested in the qi dust pill that could help breakthroughs in his cultivation. When the results were issued, Liang Feiyuan went blank, her expression unsightly. That cultivator truly is stupid. Ancestor Bailey showed a satisfied grin, his eyes flashing an awe-inspiring, treacherous light. The Dragon Gathering's first auction sold the high price of 20 liang of relic blade sand and 5 blooming water cultivating origin pills. The rest of the watching scattered star cultivators were intensely envious, thinking that this bastard truly walked away with an unexpected success. Ancestor Bailey threw over 2 small bags to Taoist Cool Breeze, calmly saying, the Taoist Cool Breeze has profited greatly this time. Someday, the Taoists must invite this ancestor to drink a cup of macaque immortal wine. 23. The Taoist Cool Breeze put a smile on his face, swiping away the bags, nodding. That is only natural. Ancestor Bailey is this flattering. I definitely must invite you to drink a cup. Humph. The Taoist Cool Breeze waved his hand, and a white light emitted from the dragon's neck. Along with the dragon's head flying up, Ancestor Bailey rolled it into his sack. Then the auction was very dull. The dragon's skin, claw, bones, muscle, blood, and even its flesh did not bring about that sort of scene of the intense shouting of prices from just before. After all, this blooming water dragon was only a dragon approaching its end. The other portions simply also were not that large. However, even if it was like this, it was exchanged for lots of relic blade sand, gold, and the like. What made Su Xing not know whether to laugh or cry was final scene of the auction for the dragon's flesh. Seeing a first-rate demon beast sold, as if it was pork meat, the cultivators who had attended from before were also unwilling to return empty-handed. One after the other, they used differing amounts of gold to divide the dragon's meat. Legends had it that dragon meat could strengthen the body and build up yang qi, and eating it should not have any sort of ill effects. In any case, it was still an ancient 7th-ranked demon beast. They could still boast that they had consumed dragon meat to any people they met after this. After 10 hours, a blooming water dragon had been divided cleanly just like that. Not even dregs were left behind. Su Xing felt satisfaction towards this time's auction, for his harvest was considerable. Fellow Zhou, please follow this one beneath you. The fatty shopkeeper opened the door, revealing an envious expression. Su Xing rose, following him out of this room. From inside the spirit treasure hall, Ancestor Bailey watched the stage, exposing a thin cold smile. Many congratulations to fellow Zhou. The profit of one blooming water dragon was not shallow. The fatty shopkeeper chuckled. That's because the Clear Void Treasure Hall's reputation is good. Su Xing was very modest. The shopkeeper's pupils turned and turned, asking, "There's something that Luo Mao really cannot understand. Why did you refuse the 5 Qi Dust pills? And even take the 5 blooming water cultivating origin pills? This isn't useful at all, right? Has the shopkeeper not realized it?" "What's that?" the shopkeeper asked. The blooming water cultivating origin pill is the blooming water sword sex soul medicine. It does not have a market price. Although it is only useful for cultivating the blooming water divine thunder, if it were to be sold to a blooming water sword sect disciple, the price would be far higher than the Qi Dust pill. Su Xing answered, pretending to be crafty. The shopkeeper immediately understood Su Xing's plan. In any case, the blooming water cultivating origin pill was the sword sect's high-quality wonder drug, and only several superbly gifted disciples could ingest it. If it was sold to someone just slightly less talented, then there possibly was a good profit. Admirable. Fellow Zhou truly sees far ahead. Luo was short-sighted, ha. The shopkeeper praised. "Master, wouldn't your taking of the blooming water cultivating origin pill be somewhat dangerous?" Lin Yingmei abruptly opened her mouth to speak. "If he deduces this, young master will have some trouble." Yingmei, thinking in this way is not incorrect. At first glance, a city feels odd, however. Doing anything has a risk. I could be crushed by a horse while walking on the road. With this sort of rarely seen wonder drug like the blooming water cultivating origin pill, how could I give it up with such a little insignificant risk? Su Xing lightly smiled. Insignificant risk? Little sister Yingmei, you do not need to worry about this. Sure Yuan already said before we made that theft. A supercluster ancestral master came to Bian City. Thinking about it, that should be he. Moreover, after our robbery, the 5 Spirits Law Heavenly Book has not been spread at all. Thus this ancestor Wanli too should not be aware yet. The Knowledge Star explained. Of course, an even more important point is that young master ingested the change appearance pill. Even if he knew, it makes no difference. However, now is the time to pay attention to our other matter. What matter? Right now, how do we successfully obtain the auction's relic blade sand? And how to break away from that Taoist cool breeze? Wu Xinjie said resolutely. Taoist cool breeze? Lin Yingmei was blank, not expecting that criticism would suddenly be pointed towards him. Could it be he has the idea of fighting master? At the auction, Yingmei Xinjie, what are your evaluations of him? Su Xing muttered. Shrewd, cunning, Lin Yingmei said. Sanctimonious. Wu Xinjie giggled, directly saying it. Su Xing nodded. People who are too shrewd are oftentimes the most selfish. This kind of cultivator at an auction that can exploit everything to bring about the greatest benefit is the most terrifying. Xinjie said sanctimonious, which is very apt. If there was a profit of 100%, capitalists would take risks out of desperation. If there was a profit of 200%, capitalists would despise the law. If there was a profit of 300%, then capitalists would trample the entire world. The items sold at an auction were many, and we got 60-70 liang of relic blade sand. I won't believe that he truly does not have mind of this. Su Xing coldly chuckled. Lin Yingmei did not know what the meaning of the capitalist thing was, but she grasped Su Xing's intent. Su Xing's identity was not known by anyone, so even if he died, he was negligible. With the dragon gathering's successful big catch, it was indeed not impossible that that cultivator could move a finger and possess all of the success. But letting a galaxy cultivator sweep away his own reputation for 10 million liang of gold, this simply was slandering the Clear Void Treasure Hall. The gains did not make up for the losses. Should he mistakenly believe the inner alchemy and soul are on young master, then there definitely will be the risk. Wu Xinjie added a word. However, I'm afraid such a shrewd person will not let another person come take the risk for him. Lending someone a knife to kill with? 3. Lin Mei went blank. Lin Mei was only not fond of any ponderance. As she thought about something, her mind spun and finally guessed the crux, Ancestor Bailey. She saw at the auction that these two shared a friendship that was not shallow. No wonder Wu Xinjie and Su Xing nearly did not think at the time of choosing between the blooming water cultivating origin pill and the Qi dust pill. They probably already realized the auction this time would not have this much success, so they might as well not have any misgivings. Lin Mei did not fear a galaxy stage cultivator. What she worried more about was her master. But Su Xing was calm and at ease, without the slightest degree of alarm. From what she saw in previous experience, he should have a countermeasure. We've arrived. Shopkeeper Luo opened a sliding door. Su Xing pondered and unexpectedly went in. He also did not fear opening hostilities with the Taoist cool breeze. Cultivators like the Taoist cool breeze, that were this sort of shrewd, would not be touched by any kind of stains. As long as he was at Clearvoid Treasure Hall, then he was absolutely safe. Congratulations, fellow Zhao. This time there was a big catch. Taoist cool breeze slightly smiled. Thanks to the Taoist's help. Su Xing feigned a polite greeting, assuming a reverent attitude. These are the auction's goods. Please take a moment to choose. Taoist cool breeze threw out an astral bag. Su Xing held it on his hand, his divine intent searching it. The Taoist cool breeze shot a glance at Su Xing, still with a relaxed and refined manner. Shopkeeper Luo then began to calculate the profits from this auction. The auction this time total gain in gold is 4 million liang. Violet gold 30 pieces. Blooming water cultivating origin pill 5. Relic blade sand 70 liang. 2 high-grade nebula artifacts, 10 bottles of returned spirit liquid and more. If you wish to exchange these for gold, the total is approximately 33 million liang. Su Xing went blank. The value completely exceeded his imagination. Gong Kaiwei said this could only be sold for several million liang. But now, this was tens of times greater. Could the price she said be for violet gold? In accordance with the rules, Clearvoid Treasure Hall will draw a tenth to take his earnings. If I may ask, will fellow Zhou select a tenth of the goods? Or in the case of the total amount of gold, it will be 2/10. Gold, Su Xing said without the slightest hesitation. He hated to part with a tenth of the goods. This treasure hall was truly shady, only acting as an intermediary for a short bit, and they wanted to draw 6,600,000 liang of gold. Su Xing felt his flesh hurt, but there was no other way. Without this platform, it was impossible for him to sell this much, especially with exchanging for that much relic blade sand. Using that much should be sufficient for refinement. Su Xing then threw out 30 pieces of violet gold, each piece worth 100,000, so the total prices was at 3 million. Additionally, he took out 3,600,000 liang to pay off the remainder. This way, Su Xing had left only 500,000 liang of gold. All of a sudden, he had returned to the pauper class, and he could not help but curse briefly at the capitalist scoundrels. However, Su Xing currently still needed to assume an air of being moved to tears until this farce was over. This one beneath you truly cannot thank you enough. Your servant still has a treasure he wants to sell. Originally, this one beneath you had some worries, and it seems now he can completely be at ease with the Taoist. Fellow Zhou, what manner of speaking is this? For such an insignificant 10 million liang item, how could the Taoist place it in his eyes? Shopkeeper Luo was discontented. The Taoist cool breeze's eyes flashed, his face carrying a slight smile. Fellow Zhou, although you are relieved, the clear void Taoists are just so. Su Xing nodded. Following Su Xing go into the distance using his eyes. Taoist, don't tell me this disgraceful man truly has the internal alchemy and the soul. That is truly a fortune then. Even if it was the Dragon Palace, ancient demon beast souls are rarely sold. I see it would be better if we directly do your thing. The Taoist cool breeze stroked his beard. Shopkeeper Luo gave an embarrassed smile, then ran into the room. Not long after, Ancestor Bailey appeared at his side. Cool breeze, where did that youngster run off to? Use sound transmission. 5. The Taoist cool breeze said. There's no need to be this careful. Who in the surroundings would dare eavesdrop? Ancestor Bailey's face complexion was annoyed. This ancestor promised descendant disciple to obtain relic blade sand, so don't even think this item truly was sent away. From the start, Ancestor Bailey did not plan to hand over the relic blade sand and the blooming water cultivating origin pills. Only when he surreptitiously used sound transmission to coordinate this with the Taoist cool breeze did he direct this play. Tell me now where he is, and this old man will go slaughter him and take his things. Ancestor Bailey's expression was ruthlessly evil. No need to be so worried. He only just said he's going to get an important item and bring it to auction. This old Taoist believes it should be the internal alchemy, the soul and such. Ha, ha, if we kill him now we won't get anything. The Taoist cool breeze lightly smiled. Ancestor Bailey frowned. And should that bastard trick you, what then? The Taoist cool breeze laughed aloud, seemingly feeling this was a big joke. This old Taoist already locked divine intent onto him. With his nebula early stage cultivation, how can he run from this Taoist's Mount Five Finger? 6. Ancestor Bailey understood clearly, but he still was not too at ease. The 20 liang of relic blade sand was truly not easily obtained. First, you tell this ancestor his appearance, then this ancestor will help you be careful. And you're still so careful. Taoist cool breeze grinned, divine intent entering Ancestor Bailey's ocean of consciousness. Ancestor Bailey then grasped Su Xing's appearance. His divine intent spread, and a supercluster stage divine intent fully enveloped the area, with more than enough room to spare. Very quickly, Ancestor Bailey locked onto Su Xing's presence. Seeing he had not run away, he coldly chuckled. Such an ugly man unexpectedly could obtain a dragon. And he even wants to use the relic blade sand to contract a star general. Indeed, this is an imbecile's dream. Ha! Ha! So let's be a bit more compassionate and have him wake from his dream. Taoist cool breeze laughed. Ancestor Bailey greatly relaxed. But don't forget to invite this ancestor for macaque immortal wine. And during these two supercluster great cultivators' banter, in a sudden moment, Taoist cool breeze's expression changed. Not good. His figure turned into an escape light that blinked away. Ancestor Bailey stared blankly. Searching with his divine intent, his expression immediately changed greatly, and he followed closely behind. He disappeared. The Taoist cool breeze and Ancestor Bailey arrived in the blink of an eye at the place the ugly man disappeared. Laying down divine intent, astonishingly, that ugly man's figure was already gone without a trace. The two's faces were dumbstruck. That ugly man unexpectedly disappeared without a trace under the lock of these two great cultivators' divine intents. Cool breeze, are you making fun of this ancestor? Ancestor Bailey gnashed his teeth, his eyes spouting out fire. Vanishing an ugly man just like that was his doing, otherwise, how could a nebulous stage cultivator have this powerful of a method? The Taoist cool breeze's calm look tightened, solemnly saying, Ancestor Bailey, this old Taoist and you have been friends for many years. Do you still not understand this Taoist? A nebula cultivator is so worthy that this old Taoist would fool you? That is indeed difficult to say. Recently, this ancestor is indeed very clear on your methods at the Clear Void Treasure Hall. Ancestor Bailey was livid but eased his tone. He also knew that this undoubtedly was a slap in the face. The Taoist cool breeze's eyes flashed a trace of malice. The two supercluster great cultivators' divine intents rose, frightening the people in a radius of more than 10 li so much that they could not breathe. The Taoist cool breeze knew they could not draw attention, so he changed to a smiling expression, and raised his escape technique and projected his voice. This Taoist sees that that ugly man definitely has obtained some fortunate circumstance, possessing some treasure that can conceal his presence. He must be hiding in the vicinity, so you must do your best. What now, you won't help this ancestor? The Taoist cool breeze lightly smile. This Taoist only naturally cannot wade in these muddy waters. Cool breeze, then what about this ancestor's relic blade sand? If it was not for his knowing he could not defeat him, Ancestor Bailey would have undertaken a great battle. Whether it be 1 liang of relic blade sand or 1 million liang, this Taoist is not lacking in it. For the sake of our friendship, how about I sell you 900,000 liang? This ancestor does not believe a nebula cultivator can hide in some place. This ancestor will find him even if Bien City must be turned upside down. Ancestor Bailey shouted, his imposing manner like a crashing tide, his supercluster cultivator divine intent, just like a wave sweeping everything away. Every person and star cultivator shortly, after being touched by the divine intent, were seemingly like rats that Buddha grabbed by the tail, their whole bodies trembling, unable to take a single step. When you have changed your plan, come chat again at the treasure hall. That time, there definitely will be a bottle of macaque immortal wine. However, allow this old Taoist to warn you. This is Bien City. Be careful of provoking the Emperor of Liang. Having finished leaving behind this speech, the Taoist cool breeze subsequently disappeared. Ancestor Bailey stared. He was quite afraid of the great Liang dynasty's Emperor of Liang Huizong. His breath drastically curbed, and he still did not dare to relax his divine intent. Where could that ugly man, that utterly hideous face hide to? Yang Tea House upper floor. Su Xing just happened to be sitting on the 3rd floor, drinking Mount Wui Great Red Robe tea too. His lips and teeth fragrant with tea, his expression refreshed and bright, a man free and unfettered. He shot a glance at the ancestor Bailey passing by downstairs. Seeing him fly into a rage, Su Xing secretly felt pleased. The oneness of heaven and man truly was incredible. Even if it was a supercluster cultivator, he still could not be sensed. It seemed he had guessed correctly. The Taoist cool breeze and ancestor Bailey colluded together. Fortunately, he deceived the Taoist cool breeze to fight for time to revert from the change appearance pill, and use the oneness of heaven and man. Otherwise, the moment he left, he would have been locked onto and had a hard time escaping. It's hard to imagine that Liangshan's #1 Taoist is this despicable. Ling Yingmei said coldly. He's stayed at the treasure hall for a long time. It'd be hard to avoid having some of these thoughts. Su Xing said, drinking tea for a short while. Only when ancestor Bailey left Bien City flustered and exasperated did Su Xing unhurriedly walk out of the tea house. He had no free time for the auction, again returning to the market square to carry out his own agenda. No matter if it was the Taoist cool breeze or ancestor Bailey, neither would think that the Su Xing who disappeared in front of their eyes would dare return once more. Su Xing prepared to again manufacture some Thunderfire bullets. The 20 Thunderfire bullets from before let him have a sample of sweet success, naturally made him want to avail himself this opportunity to make a few more Thunderfire bullets. Walking round the market square, besides buying Thunderfire sand, Vajra sand, 3, Thorny blue sand, Crimson essence sand 5 all were bought in great quantities. It was just that the price of the latter left Su Xing speechless. A single liang cost tens of thousands. However, he wondered if it was possible to manufacture other bullets. Su Xing found a rather reputable refinement shop. Its boss was a muscular uncle, and his cultivation was at Nebula middle stage. After explaining his purpose in coming was to manufacture 100 Thunderfire bullets, the middle-aged uncle was startled. 100 Thunderfire bullets, fellow. Are you thinking clearly? What, do you mean you can't fabricate these? 100 Thunderfire bullets is not a problem. 10 days should be about it. But 100 Thunderfire bullets is far less convenient than talismans. The middle-aged uncle was very straightforward. 100 Thunderfire bullets was, regardless of its uses, still far behind in killing potential compared to a splashing fire talisman. Even with the Pearl Fire Talisman 6 and the like, the latter could make 100 fireballs, the scale of which probably did not exceed 100,000 liang of gold. 100 Thunderfire bullets was greater by 5 times. 7. I'm not good with talismans, so I'm not particularly fond of them. Su Xing smiled. The uncle nodded. While he had seen many star cultivators with eccentric hobbies, he had never seen one that was not proficient with them. The prices, respectively, are 100 liang of gold for a Thunderfire bullet. That's 10,000 liang for 100. Seeing as you are refining so many, I'll calculate a discount for you, 9,000 liang. I'll use 2 bottles of Qi recovery potion to pay. Su Xing said. All right. The boss nodded, signing a contract to refine Thunderfire bullets. Oh right boss. Besides Thunderfire bullets, Do you know if you can manufacture other lead bullets according to the request I just made? Su Xing's thoughts moved, suddenly asking. His counterpart crudely laughed. Why doesn't this guest see what kind of lead bullet he wants produced? The slightly different exploding fire bullet. 8. The slightly better blood edge projectile. 9. Heavenly thunder projectile. 10. Soul-piercing bullet. 11 can all be produced by this servant, as well as the dark ice mirror. 12 fabricated from the even better 1,000-year dark ice sand. 13 the Vajra roar. 14 made by the Crimson Mountain Vajra, or the East Wind Cleave. 16 made from Putua violet green sand. 17 this servant, however, is unable to produce these. Only a weapon refinement sect master can do so. What Su Xing had made him speechless. Unexpectedly, how could there be so many varieties of bullets? Seeing that he was very experienced, Su Xing then asked, Do you sell this sort of materials here? Since fellow is so interested, I'll send you one. Because weapon refinement was a type of extremely hard work, weapon refinement and metal forging were not at all popular. Seeing Su Xing take an interest, he very generously gifted Su Xing a copy of Ascend a Mountain and Dive for Pearls. 18 a few weapon refinement and metal forging and related materials introduction. Su Xing expressed his gratitude and sent an additional bottle of Qi recovery potion. Fellow is making so many thunderfire bullets. You must travel Liangshan often. These are for self-defense use? This rude one feels this is quite the opportunity for fellow. There's a supreme grade self-defense artifact. I wonder if fellow has an interest? Yes. The boss closed the door, drawing Su Xing to an inner room. The wall of this room was filled completely with every sort of weapon hung upon it. Some were enhanced by powerful talismans, magic circles, and engravings that they could be considered just like artifacts. Weapon refinement masters naturally could manufacture artifacts, and Su Xing expected that this mini was actually rare. The middle-aged man grabbed a thin sword down from the wall. The sword blade was extremely exquisite, just like running water. Its upper quarter had more than a dozen gorgeous talisman scripts. And the strange thing was that this thin sword did not have an edge. 19, but spiritual energy overflowed from within the sword, vaguely turning into a shadow. It was quite out of the ordinary. Su Xing could not help but praise it from the bottom of his heart. Haha, this sword is one that Wu is pleased with himself about. The middle-aged man gently stroked the sword blade, matchlessly proud of himself. This one beneath you is Su Xing. May I ask for senior's name? Call me Wu Tai. 20, and that's it. Senior Wu, why is this sword not sharpened? Su Xing asked. You watch. Wu Tai walked several paces away. He suddenly raised a finger, stimulating magic energy. The thin sword turned into several tens of sword shadows that flew towards Su Xing. Seeing, as there was no killing intent, Su Xing did not move, only seeing that sword flying before his eyes immediately transform. The sword shadows diffused, and a black light twinkled in the shadows. Surprisingly, it was as if an array of 10,000 swords had surrounded Su Xing. Su Xing was amazed, and felt he had been trapped, unable to move even the slightest bit. Wu Tai recalled it, and those countless sword shadows in the air overlapped and returned to his palm, then turning into an intact whole appearance. A very strange artifact. Wu Xinjie gasped in surprise. That sword array actually was not very strong, however. This sword's effect made the knowledge star very surprised. This sword cannot kill an enemy. It's as you saw just now. It can seal a star cultivator's actions. So Wu has chosen the sword's name to be Magic Sealing Sword. This artifact's value is not cheap, is it? Su Xing said. Only naturally. This is a supreme grade nebula artifact. Wu Tai proudly said. Then he felt embarrassed and said, Of course, it does have defects. But if fellow Su were to run into a powerful foe, using the magic sealing sword can at least trap the enemy, so that you can fight for a chance to escape. Su Xing nodded, thoroughly in agreement. The magic sealing sword's flaws were indeed very great. First of all, this sword's body quality could not sustain for very long the average star energy, and this was a nebula artifact's failing. Next, once this trapped an opponent, if the other party's divine intent was formidable, that meant the enemy had enough time to erase the magic sealing sword's divine sight, and carve their own imprint, turning it for their own use. However, Su Xing still liked this magic sealing sword. In terms of fighting strength, an artifact that could seal the opponent could give rise to many variables. 3 high-grade nebula artifacts. And this magic sealing sword will belong to you, fellow Su. How about it? In addition, a certain Wu will also send a weapon refinement notes, 21 to fellow. I believe it will be extremely helpful as an introduction. Why would you sell me this? Su Xing asked. There is no why. First of all, Wu likes refining weapons and hates being wrong. This sword, should it be found out by others, I'm afraid it will bring trouble. Next, the magic sealing sword has no uses in Wu's hands. This sword suits wayfaring young, elegant youths like fellow Su Xing. Finally, fellow Su Xing is one of those rare individuals who aroused interest in refining weapons. Perhaps the one that can refine and add to this magic sealing sword's power. Can't say for sure. Wu Tai's first of all next finally, that he said were all simple to understand. Su Xing could also see the magic sealing sword's potential. And as far as whether he could refine and add to its power, who knew what the future held? At present, though, Su Xing had aroused a thread of interest in refining weapons. Thinking about it, there were no disadvantages, so Su Xing agreed, and he just happened to have the 2 high-grade artifacts he received from the auction in addition to an Azure Dragon fan. This Azure Dragon fan is worth more money. Can fellow exchange this with some others? Wu Tai said. He was an expert, unexpectedly taking advantage of Su Xing's convenience. Su Xing did not have much use for the Azure Dragon fan currently. Su Xing replied. If there is surplus money, it would be better for you to help me refine a weapon. How about it? Weapon? N. Su Xing took out Silver Blade. It was time for Silver Blade to advance a rank. 22. This firearm is quite peculiar. Wu Tai smiled, agreeing to do so. Master, refine the relic blade sand into Silver Blade. It definitely will be a big help. Wu Xinjie said. Su Xing thought about it, and taking out 1 liang of relic blade sand, he slyly sized up Wu Tai. Seeing he did not reveal a greedy appearance, he then said, I'll ask Senior for his help with this liang of relic blade sand. Fellow Su Xing, as expected, is a giant among men. Wu's insight was not wrong. For a few days, this weapon refinement shop will close its doors for fellow Su Xing's business. A certain Wu was somewhat excited. Refining relic blade sand indeed was something many weapon refinement masters all dreamed of doing. After handing it over, Su Xing then left the weapon refinement shop. Raising his head, he saw that the time of day was already not late. The next performance should be the Panther Head Lin Chang's turn to appear on stage. The night was cool like water, the bright moon suspended high. Under the deep night, somewhere outside Bian City, in a cave on a barren hill 100 li away, a man and 2 women appeared. The 3 people scouted the surroundings very carefully, very furtively. Unaware individuals may have thought this was an illicit and adulterous affair between 1 dragon and a pair phoenixes. Under the slightly cold moonlight, the 3 people's faces were illuminated. How could it not be Su Xing and his cohorts? Ingmei, is this the place? Su Xing asked. Your servant has troubled master, this place is sufficient. Lin Ingmei replied. Seeing her say as such, Su Xing did not say anything much else. He unrolled a small violet bag. Is this enough relic blade sand? It's enough to refine twice and still have some to spare. Ingmei, have you obtained the other materials? Wu Xinjie asked curiously. Lin Ingmei nodded her head. Next was the time to refine the destined star weapon. Su Xing was rather curious about how star generals refined their weapons, standing to the side watching Lin Ingmei's every move. He saw Lin Ingmei first draw a crisscrossing pattern on the ground using her star energy. From the initial simple structure slowly taking shape, it vaguely became something complicated, a beautiful seal. Su Xing always felt this was apparently somewhat familiar. Only when Wu Xinjie reminded him with the majestic star seal did he recall that this happened to be the symbol of the star crest of he and Lin Ingmei's contract. Each star general possessed an star crest that belonged to them, and only using the star array of an star crest could a star weapon be refined. Approximately several hours after the event, Lin Ingmei finished carving the star crest's outer edge. And then, with a wave of her hand, the Arctic Star Serpent Spear appeared out of thin air. Under the majestic star's thoughts, it hung above the star crest array's center. Then Lin Yingmei was silent. From her own astral gemstone shot out two kinds of items that hung in the air. 3 pieces of white jade-like and snowy crystals, their entire icy bodies pervaded with billowing clouds and mist. When they appeared, the air temperature was abruptly lowered below zero. They were the Arctic Cloud Ice Souls. 2 huh? 3 Lin Yingmei shouted, flicking her 10 fingers. Star energy violently shot out and wrapped around the Arctic Cloud Ice Souls. The star crest arrays carved patterns orderly linked. Su Xing was somewhat amazed. That design linked line by line to each other and shined, all rushing towards the center point. Finally, its entirety glowed, and when the light shone, the star energy on the Arctic Cloud Ice Souls rapidly expanded. The imposing ferocity made Su Xing unable to but somewhat retreat. A ball of transparent flame began to burn on the Arctic Star Spear, and the blaze was odd. Su Xing originally thought this was fire, but upon closer inspection, it was dissimilar. There were some transparent and flickering starlights, yet it was very similar to burning flames. It seemed that this was starfire. Lin Yingmei moved her 10 fingers, and starfire engulfed the Arctic Cloud Ice Souls. Starfire, star crest, and star weapon were seemingly like a fantastical, winding road linked together into a single whole, slowly dissolving the Arctic Cloud Ice Souls among it. That ice soul began to slowly turn into liquid, and at the same time, the Arctic Star Spear also became indistinctly thick. This refinement was a period that took forever. Taking advantage of the time, Wu Xinjie explained to Su Xing how star weapons were refined. Refining star weapons generally had the 3 steps of essence, chi, spirit. Essence was the star general dissolving her own energy into the weapon, and refining it in star fire for longer times meant that the star energy it could sustain would be even greater. Chi was the star weapon's spirit chi. This was the star weapon's great advancing point. Most of the time that star weapons were refined to upgrade their spirit chi, spirit sand was needed to guarantee that pure and divine were a single whole. Lastly was the star weapon's spirit. If the spiritual power and essence soul were insufficient, promoting a star weapon's every capable aspect like speed, power, durability, sharpness, and even magic power in the end was decided by the refined spirit. In short, this relied on every exceptional material. It was exactly relying on the Star General's one and only essence chi spirit weapon refinement technique that Star General's star weapons could sweep away everything on Liangshan continent, and no man was unafraid. Su Xing was secretly in awe after hearing this. This Star General was terrific as expected, and he could not help but be even more curious about the Liangshan Maiden. Each and every Star General was excellent and outstanding. Would not the Liangshan Maiden be even more fearsome? Xinjie is also unaware. The Knowledge Star shook her head as she replied, her eyes revealing she was slightly at a loss. When we were born at Liangshan continent, all our memories were only of the star duels. Wu Xinjie embarrassedly explained. The reason why many sisters would put their lives on the lines is for the sake of witnessing Liangshan Maiden with their own eyes. Su Xing nodded his head. Seeing the Knowledge Star not feeling too well, he used his hand to hold her shoulder, consoling her. Wu Xinjie very enjoyably rested herself against Su Xing's chest, gazing steadily at Lin Yingmei, completely concentrated on refining the star weapon. The starfire refinement used 3 consecutive days, and the 3 Arctic Star Ice Souls turned into liquid that fused with the Arctic Star Spear. Then, Lin Yingmei tapped her fingers, and from within the bag, relic blade sand floated into the air. Lin Yingmei's 10 fingers seemed to have a spirit thread, controlling the relic blade sand by means of some kind of unspeakable rules to slowly arrange it. A white light slowly appeared on the star weapon. The Arctic Star Spear slowly rotated. Lin Yingmei's fingers rode in the air. A bright string wandered on the spear like a roaming dragon. The relic blade sand also was decreasing and assimilating bit by bit into this thread. Little sister Yingmei is carving the final star engraving. It's about to end soon. Wu Xinjie did not forget to explain, as she leaned her head against Su Xing's shoulder. Do you also want to refine your star weapon? Su Xing asked. Approximately 20 liang of relic blade sand had been used, and the 49 liang remaining should be enough for the knowledge star to refine. 5. Wu Xinjie stuck out her tongue. The remainder should be enough for little sister Yingmei to refine the second star. So Xinjie won't use it. Xinjie is not a fighting general. Refining my star weapon is not that useful. However, refining it is always somewhat better. Su Xing thought. Young master, let's save this for another time. Wu Xinjie winked, suddenly leaving her master's embrace. Master, in a moment, properly please little sister Yingmei. The knowledge star was very ambiguous. Su Xing did not understand. At this time, the transparent flames burning in the cave finally went out. Lin Yingmei's expression was unbearably exhausted, and Su Xing immediately swiftly advanced, supporting the girl. Lin Yingmei's face was drained of color, and she was very weak. 3 consecutive days had nearly sucked the majestic star's star energy dry. Master, Lin Yingmei said in a low voice, wanting to raise her body, but Su Xing did not care. Don't move, you rest for a bit. Do you want to first enter the star nest? No need. Lin Yingmei looked at the Arctic star spear in the middle of the array, a white glittering that began to flicker. The Arctic star serpent spear was finally 1 star. The long spear disappeared completely, and Lin Yingmei shut her eyes. Su Xing gave her a bottle of returned spirit liquid to ingest, and then he touched her astral crest. Lin Yingmei then fled into the star nest to recuperate. You really won't refine? Su Xing asked Wu Xinjie. Wu Xinjie seriously nodded. Very well then. Let's return first. Su Xing took a deep breath. Cultivating the 5 spirits law, blooming water, divine thunder, rock-piercing water droplets, chaotic tail escape technique. To break through the nebula stage, he needed to go to the divining star platform as soon as possible. The matters he had waiting for him were not few. A mountain range bordering the Azure Dragon territory and the Vermilion Bird territory. Black Rock Mountain, 1,000 Machine Gang. A square-faced and grave man walked out. Waiting outside was a man and woman that Su Xing had encountered earlier. It was the Gong Su that ran away and his star general, the Devil Star Giant in the clouds Song Wan. Spotting that serious-looking man, Gong Su was delighted, hastily going up to greet him. Vice Sect Leader, what did the sect leader say? The 1,000 Machine Gang Vice Sect Leader looked at Gong Su, opening his mouth to say, Gong Su, your actions this time have made the sect leader extremely angry. The 1,000 Machine Gang's current foundations are not at all stable. We need to slowly again mend the majesty of the Divine Machine Clan. But you went once to the Azure Dragon territory, claiming you've obtained information on the MO attack mechanism records. Only then did sect leader assign Protector Gong Yang to aid you, but... Speaking of this, the man sighed deeply. Disciple did not expect to encounter Lin Chong. Gong Su was sad. Was it truly that Lin Chong that legends said refused to sign a contract during the 9th generation star duels? The vice sect leader's whole face was solemn. Gong Su definitively nodded. The MO attack mechanism records have also been taken by the thief star. Right now is precisely the best opportunity to kill them. Vice sect leader, you must think clearly. This is the Wu clan strategic town's 6th grand, good opportunity. Jia, you speak too. Song Jia twitched her lips, turning her head. She completely lacked interest in explaining. The vice sect leader glanced at the giant in the clouds, saying to Gong Su, the sect leader still needs several days to exit seclusion. I have already been given full authority to handle this matter. And Gong Su, what you said is not wrong, but the sect leader presently had great difficulty to call together 100 disciples. If you go this time, and more than half perishes, have casualties again, the 1,000 Machine Gang will be in danger. Gong Su, you must understand my meaning? The majestic star panther head Lin Chong actually was a frightful fiend star. 7. This was also the reason he was slow and unwilling to make a firm resolution. With the 1,000 Machine Gang's current strength, he could not believe it. The thief star Shurqian already is somewhat aware. Hesitate any longer, and we shall not be able to find the best thief under heaven ever again. If you are afraid, you can find someone to ally with. Song Jia abruptly opened her mouth. The 2 men stared blankly. There's a good piece of information. The Blooming Water Sword sect lost the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique. This boss surmises that it must be the thief star's doing, and you only need to join hands with the Blooming Water Sword sect, each taking what it needs, to everyone's delight and satisfaction. As far as the other party's star general after the event, as long as sect leader promptly leaves seclusion, there is no need to be afraid of falling out with the Blooming Water Sword sect. This idea is good. The vice sect leader clapped his hands in praise. With the Blooming Water Sword sect, his confidence was even more sure. No matter how much more powerful that Lin Chong was, it was impossible for one person to deal with the Azure Dragon territories, 4 Great Sword sect alone. Right? Gong Su, I'll hand this matter over to you to handle. I shall notify the sect leader. Gong Su accepts. Gong Su excitedly cupped his fists. The Blooming Water Sword sect main hall suddenly erupted with abrupt anger. The Divine Thunder True technique has been stolen. The Blooming Water Sword sect headmaster, the Taoist Luo River, was included among a group of several dozen cultivators trembling in fear, quaking as they lay prostrate where they were. The ones who could make them terrified and fearful were only the Blooming Water Sword sect's secluded ancestral masters. Ancestor Bailey's expression was cold and detached, somewhat frightful. He had just returned from Bien City where he had his things stolen by a nebula cultivator that escaped and went missing before his eyes, the depressed air in his throat not yet removed, and hearing this thundering, grievous news upon his return to the school. The Blooming Water Sword sect's guarded secret unexpectedly had been stolen. In a moment, a terrifying pressure nearly made the disciples at the foot of the mountain all collapse. A few clueless protectors and hall masters did not understand why Ancestor Bailey would be so angry. Although the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique was an item that was guarded, there were countless excerpts from it. Even if they lost a copy, they still had a backup. How could they know that what Ancestor Bailey was furious over was the immemorial secret treasure? 5 Spirits Law Heavenly Book. Trash, a bunch of trash. A Grand 4 Great Sword sect unexpectedly let a robber steal from right over its head. Ancestor Bailey's face was ashen. Does this headmaster want to taste this old man's blooming water refining? Ancestral master, please forgive me. The Taoist Luo River lay prostrate, trembling. Ancestral master, the Taoist cannot be blamed this time. The thief came prepared, first creating a disturbance as a diversion, and then a star master and Lin Chong pinned them down. The headmaster immediately rushed after them, but to no avail as this thief used some unknown magic that completely eliminated their presence. Not even a footprint was found. Ling Xian promptly pleaded for leniency, otherwise Ancestor Bailey really would single-handedly slap the Taoist to death. Lin Chong, Ancestor Bailey's expression changed. You said the Star General was Lin Chong? Precisely, the famous panther head Lin Chong. The majestic star's renown shook Liang Shan, and hearing that the thief unexpectedly had her, only then did Ancestor Bailey quell his anger. Sometimes, people would just have such a strangely comforted psychology. Hearing that the opponent had much cause to wreak havoc was seemingly a matter of course, and Ancestor Bailey abruptly recalled the final thing that Ling Xian said. His body going taut once more, he said, completely eliminated their presence? Give this ancestor every last detail, from start to finish, of how this happened. How was the enemy's cultivation? The Taoist Luo River saw things turn for the better, hurriedly and deferentially explained. That Star Master also used some unknown power. Only nebula early stage cultivation, yet he completely disappeared. Ancestor Bailey's brow wrinkled tightly. His presence disappeared? Nebula early stage, Blooming Water True technique? When he put together each and every one of these terms, he could not help but be alarmed. Could it be that ugly man SFX? Ka. The top-quality jade and stone white chair was crushed to fine powder by Ancestor Bailey. The Taoist Luo River and Ling Xian looked at each other in dismay. What was wrong with the ancestral master? Humph. This ancestor at the Bien City Clearvoid Treasure Hall encountered a star cultivator just like this. He took a blooming water dragon to auction, exchanging it for this ancestor's 5 blooming water cultivating origin pills. In front of this ancestor's and the Taoist cool breeze's eyes, his presence vanished. Now thinking about it, it ought to be this thief. Ah, even Ancestral Master had no way to sense him. The entire hall's cultivators were overwhelmed with shock. A nebula cultivator unexpectedly could avoid a supercluster cultivator's divine intent. This was simply shocking. Ancestor Bailey nevertheless was not that certain. The problem was that man actually was a constantly unworthy visitor. This sort of ugly man unexpectedly contracted the majestic star panther head. And Ancestor Bailey truly could not accept this fact. But that did not matter. That person already completely disappeared in such a large Liangshan. Find? How would they go find him? If the stolen Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique was disseminated, the sword sect's prestige would end. Certainly, within the 4 great sword sect rankings they would rank last. Let alone a 5 spirits law heavenly book. The Blooming Water Sword sect would not even dare leak out half this phrase. Otherwise, the Blooming Water Sword sect would pick up countless scheming enemies, something that absolutely must not be done. Wishing to but unable to capture. Wanting to but not daring to yell. Ancestor Wanli truly was sullen to death. Just at this moment, a disciple came to report. Reporting to Ancestral Master and Headmaster. At the bottom of the mountain, there is someone calling himself a 1,000 Machine Gang disciple, requesting an audience with the Headmaster. 1,000 Machine Gang? Never heard of it. Just say the Blooming Water Sword sect has sealed the mountain and will not see visitors. The Taoist Luo River said, annoyed. He says each can take what he needs. That informing disciple hesitated. Everyone's gazes immediately were glued onto him. Could it be this matter has something to do with that whatever 1,000 Machine Gang? The Taoist Luo River turned malevolent. Let him enter. Ancestor Bailey said after a short time. A long-haired man wearing bizarre garb walked in. He faced an entire group of Blooming Water Sword sect great cultivators, even a supercluster stage cultivator, and still maintained his calm. Ancestor Bailey could not help but look him over a bit more. This one beneath you is Gong Su, protector of the 1,000 Machine Gang, paying respects to the headmaster and senior. Gong Su respectfully saluted. At this moment, from top to bottom, each and every one of the Blooming Water Sword sect had air they could not vent. Seeing a never-before-heard-of sect, their faces were indifferent. It completely lacked a large school's elegance. Gong Su did not mind. What do you mean when you say each takes what he needs? The Taoist Luo River opened his mouth to ask. Your Honor's sect, too, recently certainly has been visited by a thief, right? This servant knows who that thief is. Gong Su replied calmly. The hall was startled. The Blooming Water Sword sect had never mentioned this matter to the outside. How could this man know? Was it you who put someone up to this? Ling Xian said. Of course not. If this servant truly arranged for somebody, how could he stupidly walk into a trap? Gong Su replied. State your purpose. Ancestor Bailey stared, coldly opening his mouth. Gong Su bowed. 3 saying. That thief a little while ago took the opportunity to steal this one's sect's guarded secret, during the time the sect leader was in seclusion. This servant tracked and investigated for several months before finally finding that thief's whereabouts, and became aware of the matter of your Honor's sect. Who was it? The thief star flee on a drum Qian. Gong Su replied. Everyone present was shaken. You speak of the thief star Qian? The Taoist Luo River asked, disbelieving. On second thoughts, only Maiden Mountain's #1 thief could have this class of a heavenly method. But Qian stole the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True technique. To do what? Surprisingly, it's that thief star? No wonder she could break the evil smiting array. Right, if she wanted to steal it, then it really is not easy to protect. Everyone discussed spiritedly. The thief star's reputation in Liangshan continent was also known to everybody. This best thief under heaven could even give people a bigger headache than some of the heavenly star's generals could. Bailey's imposing manner pushed down, making the hall restore its silence, saying, Continue speaking. Gong Su bowed his head, briefly telling about his business. His meaning more or less was, the 1,000 Machine Gang wants to work together with the Blooming Water Sword sect to reclaim signature techniques. Why not do it yourself? To be quite honest, we do not know how the thief star Qian teamed up with the majestic star. She's stealing your honor's sex signature art is definitely because she was incited by the majestic star's master. This servant already brought people to find Shi, but we simply were not the majestic star's opponent. The sex casualties were dangerous, and a protector died for this reason, under the blade of Lin Chang's master. This servant also only escaped after much difficulty. The feeling from Gong Su saying this were absolutely genuine. The Blooming Water Sword sect believed 70 to 80% of it. After all, at that time, Lin Chong and the rest were seen. That being the case, this man's words could actually explain many things. The thief star appears and disappears unpredictably. How could we ever find her? This servant has certainty in finding Shi. The Taoist Luo River and the rest of the cultivators shifted their gaze onto Ancestor Bailey, awaiting his final decision. This affair suddenly turned for the better, making the Taoist Luo River endlessly excited. Ancestor Bailey was apathetic. He watched Gong Su flatly saying, "Do you have any requests?" Rejoice Senior. Gong Su speaks forthrightly. Lin Chang's master also has connections to an additional 3-star generals. I do not dare conceal this from Senior. At that time, the 1000 Machine Gang wants 2 of the star generals, and requests Senior to help accomplish this. What? For star generals, you say? How can this be possible? That's nonsense. How could one person have 4-star generals? Liar. The Blooming Water Sword sect star cultivators were incessantly stirred up. Ladies and gentlemen, quiet and listen to the ancestral master's command. The Taoist Luo River faked a cough, stopping the hall's noise. If truly each takes what he needs, that majestic star Lin Chong and thief star Shi will belong to this sect. The others will belong to you. How about it? Ancestor Bailey lightly smiled. Many thanks for Senior's assistance. On behalf of the sect leader, Gong Su is endlessly grateful. Gong Su promptly expressed his appreciation. When your sect leader leaves seclusion, this ancestor wishes to meet him. This ancestor wonders what connection the 1000 Machine Gang has with the Divine Machine Clan. Ancestor Bailey's mood had completely relaxed. The 1000 Machine Gang still hopes for the Blooming Water Sword sect's assistance. Gong Su seized the opportunity. This is easy to manage. As long as we can reclaim our things, heaven and earth as proof, the sun and moon as example, we are each other's friends in trials and tribulations. The Taoist Luo River laughed loudly. Compared to the initial grim and nervous atmosphere, the hall already was incomparably relaxed, as if they already saw clearly how to capture and kill the majestic star. Several days later, Grindstone Mountain. Mo Clan ruins. A young girl sat atop an abandoned flight of stairs flipping through the book in her hands. Her entire body's sexy, black attire clung tightly to her skin that was whiter than snow. Her adorable brows raised from time to time, and sometimes they creased in gloom. 2 massive copper men stood by her side like loyal guardians. She happened to be the thief star Flea on a drum. Ever since she left Suxing, Shi did not know how she returned to this once familiar place. On the basis of its reputation, she felt that researching the Mo attack at the Mo clan ruins would have given her more inspiration. But she was frequently slightly preoccupied, staring at that falling pitfall trap mechanism. Opening the door, the Mobius corridor was a veil that appeared before her like yesterday. Don't let your imagination run wild. He already has 2-star generals. Shi Yuan muttered to herself, damn it. That bastard unexpectedly became sworn brothers and sisters with Suwen, really goddamn it. As she thought this, the thief star suddenly jumped. The Mo attack mechanism records in her hand returned to her astral gemstone, her puppet banners spreading out. The 2 copper man puppets immediately raised their fists and smashed into the forest. A silhouette suddenly flew out, and he suppressed the puppet's fist with a wave of his hand. Then with a soft shout, a transparent thunderlight shot out from his palm. It seemed like a waterfall covered the 2 copper man puppets' bodies. There were dazzling rays of light and a thunderclap of water. And with the sound of a violent crash, the 2 imposing and terrifying copper man puppets had been instantly blown like straw into a pile of scrap iron. There was not even a trace of resistance. The thief star Flea on a drum. Shi Yuan secretly shouted, "This is bad," striking the hand seals for wordless and uncommunicative, as she turned and fled. Can you escape past this ancestor's water-parting dragon-binding net? That voice like a flood jeered. Go! He pointed, and a white light flew out from his hand, transforming into a dark blue, giant net that closed in on the thief star from above. The supercluster cultivator's action was out of the ordinary. A water net spread out when the blue light flashed, and the water-splitting dragon-binding net fell over the thief star, covering her. With this she had no way of escaping. Shi Yuan was not afraid, on the contrary shouting curses. Shameless old Taoist, sneak attacking someone younger than you. Don't you feel you've thrown away your own self-respect? Ancestor Bailey descended before Shi Yuan, a sneer blossoming in his eyes. Thief star, the blooming water sword sex ancestor Bailey, has been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. Hearing him yell out his own star name, as a blooming water sword sect ancestral master, Shi Yuan's heart thumped, thinking to herself of how did she meet with this unexpected failure. Her mouth still stubbornly said, Do you want to break the rules of the star duels with this sort of action? Not afraid of the Liangshan maiden finding trouble with your sword sect. The reason why Shi Yuan was this confident was that she knew the star duels. Before the second phase started, the other great sect's powerful cultivators could not interfere in the star duels. Of course, this was only a tacitly agreed upon unwritten rule. During the phase when the star duels only just began, the majority of sects concealed many old freaks. Even if a star general could ignore cultivation, possessing a super strong star weapon could not be placed on par with these old monster star cultivators. During the time of the first star duel, the star generals were from the illustrious reputation they held today. Everybody in Liangshan knew the first star generals fighting each other in close combat was like child's play from the perspective of the major schools. Some sects even contrarily killed star generals for their star weapons, astral gemstones, or even for their lovely beauty. Among these, it must be brought to attention a great sect that could not be put on equal terms with the clear void Taoists, the Devil Fiend Holy Sect. The stupidest thing the Devil Fiend Holy Sect did was that they publicly issued a manifesto to kill all star generals, to prove they were Liangshan's #1 great sect. In reality, when this proof was ready, Liangshan's #1 sect did not need even a day to be destroyed. Reportedly, the Liangshan maiden had 1,000 magnificent stars fall onto the Devil Fiend Holy Sect. Its power made every hero under heaven hide within their own sects, not daring to emerge. During that night, the Devil Fiend Holy Sect's 100,000 followers were obliterated from history. At that time, the Devil Fiend Holy Sect's demonic head was a transforming star of annihilation stage pinnacle adept. But even if he was like this, he died as quietly as an ant. Ever since then, every great sect not only decisively killed errant peoples, as a gesture of goodwill towards that Liangshan maiden, they actively participated in the star duels. The purpose was to glimpse the Liangshan maiden's true face, to fully grasp the transforming star. Ancestor Bailey disdainfully sneered. Should you steal from over this sect's head? Certainly no wonder this ancestor would be unscrupulous. When did this young lady steal? Shi Yuan's eyes turned, unwilling to concede. Thief star Shi Qian, I trust you have been well since we last met. Gong Su walked over, his eyes carrying a threat of hatred. Shi Yuan stared blankly, really not expecting the 1,000 machine gang would participate in this. At this moment she heard another sneer. Little sister Shi Qian, if elder sister killed you, there shouldn't be a problem, right? Tong Yao squatted down, engrossed, her face carrying a mischievous expression, sizing up the flea on a drum caught by the net. Seeing 2 star masters, then seeing the 1,000 machine gang's multitude of disciples, and the blooming water sword sect's attitude, she realized why they had come. Her heart immediately was helpless. This time, this young lady's doom was at hand, about to be a falling star. 2 elder sisters came. Shi Qian truly has a reputation. I just don't know how you 2 sisters will go split me up, seeing as how little sister is only one person. The thief star giggled, not knowing how to die. This won't console little sister's worries. Tong Yao smiled. Shi Qian, bring out the thing you stole. This ancestor can agree to admit you into the sect. Ancestor Bailey said coldly, This young lady did not steal any of your things. Shi Yuan twitched her mouth. Ancestor Bailey waved his hand. Water thunder struck and exploded on Shi Yuan's body, and the thief star grimaced. The pain was endless, but Shi Yuan was still stubborn, not uttering a word. Where is the majestic star and her master? Gong Su shouted. Are you an idiot? This young lady is a star general. How could I have something to do with the star master? Even if this young lady did know, she would not inform you. Shi Yuan sneered. Gong Su narrowed his eyes, sorrowfully saying, to have you go steal the sect's secret technique, the majestic star's master has nothing to do with you? Do you take this servant to be as easy to fool as a 3-year-old child? Little sister Shi Qian, as long as you hand over the majestic star's whereabouts, elder sister vows to absolutely protect you safe and sound. The Blooming Water Sword sect will welcome you as a guest. You can choose young talents as your contractor, how about it? The retreating star Tong Yao enticed. Even elder sister's contractor wants to share with little sister. Shi Yuan glanced at Chen Zhonglin. A face of loathing, Chen Zhonglin's complexion was a bit ill. Then Shi Yuan turned her head away, not looking, the manner of a dead pig that did not fear scalding water. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, not expecting the shrewd thief star to unexpectedly be unwilling to hand over the other star master. This actually was beyond their expectations, but it also made them even more convinced the majestic star's master and Shi Qian had an unclear collusion. Ancestor Bailey glimpsed that Shi Yuan's belt had a milky white talisman. A radiance flashed in his eyes. He opened his hand, and though Shi Yuan cried out in fear, that talisman was sucked over. The milky white talisman had several magic scripts, and seeing this, Ancestor Bailey abruptly laughed out loud. Ancestral Master, is there a solution? Chen Zhonglin was delighted. Thousand-Li sound transmission talisman. 2. Ancestor Bailey held the talisman in his hand, lightly asking Shi Yuan. The thief star surprisingly has this kind of talisman. It seems the person of this sound transmission, and you are not shallowly involved? Is it that majestic star's master? The 1000 Li sound transmission talisman had carved into it a sound transmission divine intent. Using it enabled one's thoughts to be transmitted to a divine intent cultivator. Being able to allow the thief star carry this one her person, their relationship was certain to be very close. That is only something stolen by this young lady from someplace. Why don't you connect it? I can't say for sure if it might make some old monsters come. Shi Yuan flustered for a moment, then calmed down in a moment. How could Ancestor Bailey ever be fooled by this sort of dishonest rhetoric? Coldly smiling, his fingers shook, and the talisman ignited into a ball of transparent starfire. Lin Chong listened to this ancestor. I'll give you 1 day to bring the thing you stole from this sect to Grindstone Mountain for a chat. Otherwise, the thief star flare on a drum will die for you. Don't come. Shi Yuan yelled in a panic. The talisman's combustion was nearly over, changing into a ball of white mist. This mist condensed by Ancestor Bailey's divine intent, and shot out a white light that disappeared far, far away into the horizon. Little sister, that's really stupid. Exploited by the majestic star. Yet you still protect him so? Truly outrageous. Tong Yao frowned, incapable of comprehending this. Shi Yuan laughed uproariously, as if she had just seen a joke. You all are truly idiots. Has elder sister ever heard of a star master that would rescue the sort of star general that little sister is from a predicament? Hee hee. Even if that 1000 Li sound transmission is for the majestic star's master, he still would not come. Actually, that is little sister's life-saving talisman. You all better run quickly. If little sister used this talisman, little sister promised to become his star general, and then he'll come. Shi Yuan looked around at several people, smiling self-confidently. You all can still make it if you run now. Tong Yao trembled, and the other star cultivators felt the thief star's words were reasonable. Granted that Gong Su was somewhat in a mess. After all, he knew the knowledge star. If there was such an extremely wise general present, it could now be assumed that, exploiting Shi Qian to capture the majestic star, she really would not come throw her life away. This ancestor truly wishes to make acquaintances with the adept you speak of. Ancestor Bailey calmly opened his mouth, his words pressing down on a disciplined heart. The other people thought this as well. Generally speaking, in the Azure Dragon territory, the ancestral master was a top-quality cultivator, with him keeping watch, even in addition to 2 great schools' 100 disciples, as well as 2-star masters. What a joke. This kind of battle array truly could kill gods if they came, could extinguish Buddhas if they came. Although they thought as much, the 2 schools' disciples still did not dare to lower their guard, properly laying down a magic circle. Shi Yuan saw this, and her heart sunk even deeper. Even though her face feigned calm, rejoicing in other people's misfortune, Tong Yao could see that in Shi Yuan's eyes was that trace of exposed worry. Little sister, what are you nervous about? Since an adept will rescue you, it's not too late to be happy. Tong Yao shook her head as she spoke. You said it. There isn't a star master that would be willing to risk life and limb for an exploited chess piece. Oh, are you worried that your adept will be sliced and diced? No need to worry, elder sister won't do it like that. The retreating Star River churning clam's smile revealed her white teeth. Elder sister will make mincemeat out of him. Now this is interesting. Bian City. How could Su Xing create as much trouble as Shi Yuan that 2 sects suddenly joined hands to oppose him? At this moment, he had only just finished harmonizing his breath. Squinting, he was very satisfied with the progress he had made. The blooming water cultivating origin pill was indeed awesome. Swallowing just one, the foundation of the refined blooming water divine thunder in his body was even more stable. Nurturing it in his body was getting increasingly smooth and easy. In 10 days, he had already finished refining the blooming water divine thunder a second time. Besides this, Su Xing also finally entered Nebula middle stage. Young master's progress is rapid. You can almost go try becoming an outlaw. Wu Xinjie said. Su Xing nodded. First of all, he still needed to first go find Wu Tai. According to their contract, the items should have been long done. Arriving at the weapon refinement shop, as expected, Wu Tai had already waited for a very long time. Younger brother Su Xing, amazing. Only 10 or so days. And you've entered Nebula middle stage. Wu Tai exclaimed in admiration. He originally thought that Su Xing would need 3 months at the minimum to accomplish this. But how could he know that Su Xing was contracted with 2 beautiful star generals? This sort of speed was very normal. This one beneath you has benefited from that. Ascend a mountain and dive for pearls, and notes of fellow Wu. Su Xing smiled. Currently, he was no longer unknowledgeable about refining like he was at the very beginning. He could call out the names of the majority of refined ore, iron and stone. He could also be considered as having entered the door of weapon refinement. If he did not have that notebook of accumulated experiences, Su Xing could not have done this. For it to pass on weapon refinement is a given. Pity that a certain Wu's experiences can only count as slight mastery. It's extremely far off from great masters. If you can forge the magic sealing sword, then brother Wu is being modest. Wu Tai laughed openly, then brought out a box. Inside were placed 100 thunder fire bullets. This is 100 thunder fire bullets, little brother Su. Inspect and accept this. Su Xing's divine intent swept over it. Wu Tai's forging art was indeed out of the ordinary. The 100 thunder fire bullets' textures were even, seemingly like they were pressed from a mold, not even lacking in the slightest bit. This delicate working method, that had been brought to the pinnacle of perfection, made Su Xing speechless. He rolled the 100 thunder fire bullets into his sack. Wu Tai stared blankly, seeing Su Xing accept the thunder fire bullets so quickly without checking, even thinking he was believing in him. The good opinion he had in his heart was even deeper. And then there was a silver gun. The surface of the silver blade with relic blade sand forged into it was dazzling. The lines on the gun's body vaguely flowed like a kind of indescribable graceful luster. Those who was it would be dazzled. The gun was much lighter, but holding it in his hand and secretly providing star energy, silver blade immediately emitted a brilliant light. The star energy sustained by the gun body was even stronger than before, even more solid. This relic blade sand was exceptional as expected. Su Xing fondled it admiringly, when suddenly at this moment, an anxious divine intent penetrated into his ocean of consciousness. Big brother Shi Yuan is in trouble. A wooden boat split open the blue sky, the blue atmosphere raging. Even the speed of riding sword flying would eat the dust of the boat. A well-trimmed young man stood at the very front of the boat, his eyes erupting pure light. Pinching his hands together in a seal, he steadily imbued star energy into the boat. The powerful star energy made this ordinary wind-swayed raft glisten with green light, brilliantly dazzling the eyes. He was Su Xing ever since he received in Suwen's 1000-li emergency sound transmission. Su Xing maintained all his magic energy to fly the wind-swayed raft for several hours already, its speed putting others to shame. A fierce, protective spirit energy formed a barrier that covered up the violent tailwind kicked up by the hurried flight. Two beautiful ladies stood guard all around, their eyes exceptionally cold. "Xinjie, it seems you aren't stopping me this time?" Su Xing gazed at the imposing knowledge star, pretending to be relaxed as he asked. To go on this trip, that was a narrow escape, and this would be Su Xing's most grim challenge since he arrived at Liangshan continent. The Blooming Water Sword sect had set up a troop formation, waiting for him to walk right into the trap. One could imagine the vicious danger that lay inside. One man opposing one sect, that was wishful thinking. It would definitely make Su Xing into an ostrich that buried its head, that this was something even he absolutely could not accomplish. Let alone, Su Xing was still somewhat confident. Xinjie won't play the role of the strict parent. The knowledge star winked. She was fully aware of her master's nature. Fleeing before a battle, that definitely would never happen. Moreover, she also felt the thief star being captured by the Blooming Water Sword sect was because of them. From sentiment and reason, what harm was there in helping her out once? Little sister Ingmei's star weapon is already 1 star. This just so happens to allow Ingmei to train. The knowledge star held the heaven-concealing star feather fan in her hand. A card up their sleeves, planning victory from 1,000 li away, it seemed. Save Shi Yuan then escape, that's it. Su Xing nodded. He was not arrogant enough to get rid of a supercluster cultivator currently. The two girls nodded. After a few hours, they arrived near Grindstone Mountain, vaguely making out a lightly colored barrier. Grindstone Mountain was silent, where not even a bird's cry was heard. They did not know either how many vicious dangers lay hidden in that forest. Wu Xinjie waved the heaven-concealing star fan, and a copper light moved about. The yellow rank magic, think then act sprinkled a green light. Then with a shake of the feather fan, that serene light swept open and covered Grindstone Mountain. After a moment, it passed through, seeing one after the other 100 cultivators, and the highest cultivation was a supercluster early stage. The Blooming Water Sword sect ancestor Bailey came, as expected. In addition to him, there were 2 thorny star masters. Young master, careful. Remember to use divine intent at the very beginning. Wu Xinjie said thus and thus. Su Xing let Wu Xinjie hide in the star nest, and exchanging firm looks with Lin Ingmei. With a step of his foot, the wind-swayed raft dropped into the barrier. Grindstone Mountain. This time, altogether, came 70 Blooming Water Sword sect disciples. All of their cultivations at Stardust's late stage. Compared with the Blooming Water Sword sect, Gong Su's 1,000 machine gang was somewhat lacking in resources. 50,000 machine gang disciples each called out a mechanical beast, their hands grasping puppet banners, laying out an 8 doors mechanism magic circle. 3 Chen Zhonglin. Fellow Gong Su, shouldn't your star general come out? A gold light fantastically emerged. It was the golden armored light-colored shirt Song Jia. Her forehead had a solemn Buddhist aura, making the Blooming Water Sword sect disciples and others to be endlessly shocked. Even Ancestor Bailey's eyelids jumped. Song Jia coldly glanced at Tong Yao. With this sort of troop arrangement, how could Lin Chong dare come? Even if she dared, her master would not necessarily dare to do so. Song Jia opened her mouth to speak. There's no helping it if they don't come. Although Shi Qian's lacks meat, it's enough to be satisfied for a time. Tong Yao's appearance was giddy, her eyes crafty. Don't waste your energy scheming. Use your brain to think, and you will realize what Star Master would take risks for a Star General for the sake of no good reason. If you want to kill me quickly, alright? I'm sick of this. Shi Yuan seized the chance to shout. She deliberately was all smile. That gong whatever? The Divine Machine Clan's MO attack mechanism records is very interesting. Recorded inside are many powerful mechanisms. If it was any other sword sect that obtained it, it definitely would be like a tiger that has grown wings. Gong Su's complexion changed, shouting, "Thief Star, cease your provocations." He nervously shot a glance over at the ancestor Bailey freely tinkering with the astral gemstone he obtained from Shi Qian. His expression was light, so it was not known if he had heard her words just now. What this young lady said was the truth. How could Shi Yuan miss the opportunity to sow dissension in their ranks? This young lady says, it would be better for the Blooming Water Sword sect to cleanly dispose of the 1,000 Machine Gang right here. I'll hand this mechanical great technique over to you. How about if this young lady goes and steals your true technique back? The person you're waiting for won't come anyways. And here right now is an obedient devil star. Little sister Shi Qian, do you want sister to send you back to the Liangshan maiden right now? Seeing her spit out her own star number, the devil star Song Jia brought out her Vajra's evil smiting sword. Pointing it at Shi Qian, the rays of light on the sword permeated the whole place, fleeting incessantly. Song Wan, you have no need to receive this Shi Qian's influence. Tong Yao is indifferent. She is only struggling on her deathbed. Then you all can just slowly wait here. Shi Yuan objected. They've come. Ancestor Bailey put away the astral gemstone, spitting out 2 ice-cold words. He looked at Shi Yuan, carrying a sort of holier-than-thou victorious attitude. It seems his and your relationship is not shallow. Shi Yuan went blank. A green light flit across the sky, hovering in midair. It shook everyone present for a scare. Every disciple mobilized their techniques. Flying swords and mechanical beasts began to stir, confronting the majestic star of legends. Even Ancestor Bailey did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. I did not expect them to really come. Chen Zhonglin was shocked, subsequently hinting to Tong Yao. The girl did not hold back her jade water turtle dragon trident, grasping it firmly. The devil star Song Jia held her Vajra's evil smiting sword tightly, her expression grim. Even if it was Lin Chong, 2 star generals grasping 1 star heavenly weapons were not that easy to deal with. Release her. Su Xing specially added star energy, his voice like rolling thunder, resounding through the grindstone mountain, looking down from on high. Vaguely there was a sort of frightening intention, a divine intent pressuring downwards towards the ground. Shi Yuan was dazed. Ancestor Bailey did not mind her at this time, laughing heartily of his own accord. Admirable, admirable. As expected, Lin Chong's master is a seriously loyal man. Fully aware this is a dragon's pond and a tiger's den, and you still dare to not be shirked without dishonor, too admirable. You are the kind of star master this old man likes, because only this way can you die quickly. Around Ancestor Bailey's whole body floated several thunderwater flowers, his gaze keenly staring towards Su Xing nearly at the same time. Su Xing also stared towards him, the 2 people's gazes locking. Su Xing only felt a boundless divine intent attack him, like an unstoppable, surging pressure that made it hard for him to breathe. Su Xing inwardly sneered. Ancestor Bailey unexpectedly wanted to use divine intent to overwhelm him. If it was an ordinary star cultivator, falling would have been fine. After all, a nebula middle stage and a supercluster stage cultivation's realms differed too greatly. No need to mention using divine intent. Just that magic energy's imposing manner could make nebula cultivators collapse. But who was Su Xing? The man that contracted the ranked 3rd knowledge star and the ranked 6th majestic star. Regarding a star energy's robustness, his ocean of consciousness was even sturdier. Without hesitation, he maneuvered his divine intent to pressure back. Bang! The 2 incorporeal divine intents touched each other in midair, unexpectedly exploding into a ball of violent whirlwind. Su Xing stood atop the boat's bow, only feeling the opposition's divine intent as vast and tenacious, more eager than any of the star cultivators he had encountered by 100-fold. Only naturally, Ancestor Bailey was a supercluster cultivator. Regarding boundaries, he was the most powerful foe that Su Xing had run into. Ancestor Bailey's divine intent was like a tide of 10,000 stampeding horses. Even Su Xing was slightly unable to resist. The immense formless strength rushed and bubbled over. After all, Su Xing was only nebula middle stage. Being able to not fall over immediately already made the people below very much shocked. Su Xing had been shook by the divine intent that he took a few steps back. Luckily, the absolute sincerity soul technique unloaded this power. Although divine intent was formless and not unique, an unreal thing, reaching the supercluster realm of Ancestor Bailey, the star energy inside his body was truly vast as an ocean, waves galloping continuously. Once divine intent was released, did it not flow like a substance akin to mercury? His divine sight's telekinesis was not the slightest bit inferior to a star cultivator's artifact, perhaps even stronger. Usually, great cultivators' imposing manners release being able to pressure everywhere was because of this logic. The berserk whirlwind ripped open the air. The airflow brought about bubbled and shot everywhere. In a moment, a bizarre hissing sound resounded continuously. The chaotic airflow was like an approaching, severely strict sword chi closing in on everyone present from far away. The 100 disciples already were pressured to the point of no longer breathing, the sword array immediately collapsing by itself. Very incredible, worthy of being able to contract the majestic star. Directly facing the ancestral master's divine intent attack, and even standing firm. Chen Zhonglin secretly admired. He felt it was strenuous. Gong Su's expression was unsightly. Only star masters that harmonized each other's star energies could resist this divine intent. He sized up while the wind swayed raft, always feeling that something was not quite right. Su Xing's complexion was increasingly unsightly, his entire body trembling incessantly, about to collapse at any time. I'll bring you down just like this. Ancestral Bailey's imposing manner burst forth, his divine intent focused and pressed down upon Su Xing, just as if he was pinned by the 5 sacred mountains. The foreheads of Lin Yingmei, who was at his side, and Su Xing flickered forth a dazzling star crest. The Star General's star energy resonated, only barely letting Su Xing hang on. Ancestor Bailey howled with laughter. A nebula star cultivator unexpectedly competed fiercely with him in divine intents. It seems the man Lin Chong found was only so. Su Xing violently spat out a great mouthful of blood, the bloody mist drifting through the air. His expression was more and more unbearable, and Shi Yuan's voice was seemingly filled to the brim with sobbing. "Idiot, hurry and run!" The wind swayed raft in the sky shook, and was already beginning to fall apart. It looked as if Su Xing was no longer able to resist, when suddenly at this moment, Ancestor Bailey saw that this man unexpectedly smiled. He unexpectedly smiled. "Not good. We fell into a trap. Quickly call Senior to stop." Gong Su suddenly shouted loudly. "What did you say?" Chen Zhonglin stared blankly. Boom. Densely packed thunder fire bullets suddenly flew out from the forest, giving rise to an enormous explosion under the pressure of divine intent. A figure flew out. Only realizing now is already too late. That beautiful figure, white-handed, was spry and lively as she danced as she wished. Several hundred talismans fluttered about Grindstone Mountain like butterflies that filled the sky. Interlocking explosion, wind kill, and water arrow covered the area without warning. The 100 disciples already had been pressured breathless by the ancestors' divine intent, and now suddenly receiving this attack, there simply was not enough time to react. Looking on helplessly at the thunder fire bullets, the 100 talismans rushed and covered their faces. Boom! A blaze reached the sky, and the earth quaked as the mountains shook. At this time, only now did Chen Zhonglin understand the meaning of Gong Su's words. Who was this girl? He was overwhelmed with shock. Su Xing deliberately used divine intent to incite Ancestor Bailey. And Ancestor Bailey thought of relying on this technique of a divine intent to grab Su Xing. He scarcely realized that for a supercluster cultivator to fully use that enormous divine intent, that would be like sinking a mountain into the sea. The 100 disciples present were all only just stardust stage. How could they withstand this kind of ravaging? Originally having laid down a sword array, the magic circle instantly collapsed by itself. And along with the two people's divine intent duel that attracted the attention of everyone, the knowledge star took advantage of the opportunity to throw out hundreds of talismans and several tens of thunder fire bullets. Even if a few were pushed down by divine intent, the explosion the thunder fire bullets gave rise to still formed a chain reaction. And with a distraction such as this, the 100 disciples sustained casualties amounting to more than half their number. As far as the knowledge star was concerned, the most frightening thing was not the supercluster cultivator, but these seemingly insignificant stardust disciples. When the sword array broke, the divine intent also immediately crumbled. The disciples suffered a calamity, yet Ancestor Bailey's face did not change expressions. Apparently, he did not count on these low-level disciples to be able to do anything, anyways. They were not bad as cannon fodder. And now, another hidden star general had been drawn out. Ancestor Bailey sneered, raising his hand. A 10-zhang long, thick blue water thunderclap struck downwards from the sky above towards Su Xing. Thunder boomed, like 10,000 stampeding horses, and the blue water thunderclap was no less than 100 zhang in length, its momentum vast and boundless. Astonishingly, this was the blooming water divine thunder's power. Master, careful. Lin Yingmei's expression tightened. No one understood this kind of frightening thunder technique. The blooming water divine thunder was even more than Su Xing. It seemed from the Five Spirits Law Heavenly Book's introduction that the blooming water thunder, as one of the 5 elements' astonishing thunders, its might was higher than an average Taoist realm's thunder magic by several hundredfold. Seeing Ancestor Bailey's blue water thunderclap, its momentum strengthen, imposing and fierce, it had been refined at least more than 10 times. Although it was far from reaching 10,000 thunders simultaneous discharge, the point of the collapse of heaven and earth, its might still scared people. Plus, Ancestor Bailey's was not a person who underestimated the enemy. 2. Acting without leaving the least bit of leeway. Everyone present all felt this vastly powerful blue water thunderclaps approaching and severe killing intent. Even if Su Xing had the majestic star's protection, he could not relax if it struck upon his body. Everyone thought this way. Yet who would have imagined that when the blue water thunder was unveiled, Lin Yingmei leapt, unexpectedly leaving her master, an Arctic star spear glinting in her hand. Cold chi pressed and pierced, hacking towards Ancestor Bailey. The majestic star's betrayal made Ancestor Bailey very alarmed. According to his understanding, the majestic star should have inevitably helped block the thunderclap. Could it be this majestic star was dissatisfied with her own master, and was sending him to die? It was too late for much thought, and the mini thunder water flowers at Ancestor Bailey's side alternated, shooting towards Lin Yingmei. The blooming water divine thunder overwhelmingly dropped down from above Su Xing, when suddenly it collided against a pure white halo. Enveloping Su Xing, a jade light condensed, and over Su Xing's head, it transformed into a mini-layered ocean. Every level of white light had minute, faintly discernible incantations, showing an extremely durable appearance. Bang! 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 Like a clay ox entering the sea. 3. The 10,100 zhang long blooming water divine thunder struck upon the white net. That kind of oppressive sinking noise penetrated endlessly. The jade-colored bright light enshrouding Su Xing's entire body seemed like a bottomless pit, completely sucking in the blooming water divine thunder. A jade annulus twinkled brightly. Everyone looked, and only then did they know Lin Yingmei's betrayal was planned. Astral treasure! Chen Zhonglin shouted. The profound star barrier was worthy of being called an ancient magic treasure. The blooming water divine thunder was easily submerged into that sea. The blooming water divine thunder having been broken, Ancestor Bailey was tangled up by Lin Yingmei, waving his hand to disperse the thunder water flowers. Exploding one after another, the one-star Arctic star spear cleaved open a chilly wind that shattered the divine thunder. The long spear shot straight towards Ancestor Bailey. The latter was the blooming water sword sect ancestral master grade after all, and seeing him suddenly point towards the sky, a blooming water thunder that was bigger than the one discharged earlier dropped from the sky. This thunderclap's water color was even more deep, its thickness somewhat terrifying. At the minimum, it was larger than the blooming water divine thunder, just now by a full size. In addition, to the side of the at least 300 zhang in length thunder pillar, was countless huge water balls randomly flying and rotating. This was a supercluster cultivator's power. This power was certainly just like opening heaven and splitting earth, the rapidly falling thunder pillar bringing with it a whirlwind. The earth split, and the forest was pulled out by the roots rolling. With regards to the other party, the thunderclap just now was like comparing a small brook to a large river. Lin Yingmei looked at it as if it was nothing, her spear tip fiercely cutting. The Arctic Star spear rolled out an Arctic cloud gust that condensed into a thick barrier, blocking her front. The destined star weapon's defense was far unlike the profound star barriers, especially after advancing to 1 star. With a type of unique material like Arctic cloud ice soul, it was indeed like a tiger that had grown wings. The moment the blooming water divine thunder touched the ice-cold Arctic cloud barrier, 5. It was like it entered into a swamp. Humph. Ancestor Bailey easily pointed, a booming divine thunder exploding open. With successive booms, the Arctic cloud barrier blown to bits. Although the blooming water divine thunder consumed until nothing was left, it also blocked Lin Yingmei's attack. Ancestor Bailey seemed to have already known this outcome, not even looking as he raised his joined hands. An item flew out. It was a hanging portrait with the 9 dragons glacier, 6 painted upon it. He shook the painting, and cold light flashed from inside it. 9. Several Zhonglong ice-cold and pure crystal long dragons flew about and coiled in the sky. They formed a mysterious magic circle, and that magic circle flickered and disappeared. Instantly, it appeared above Lin Yingmei. 9 crystal long dragons opened their maws and spat balls of fog. These 9 balls of fog were extremely cold. The moment they touched the air, they became a thick ice sheet, freezing Lin Yingmei firmly inside. This was the sex magic weapon. Entering supercluster stage, cultivators could then refine magic weapons. Compared to artifacts, magic weapons had even more spiritual power. The magic energy they could sustain was also more profound, like this 9 dragons ice sealing painting. 7. That could temporarily seal an opponent. However, it was clear he had forgotten Lin Yingmei's identity. Su Xing was at her side, successively making hand seals. The Lin Yingmei that had been frozen over immediately disappeared, entering the star nest. In a moment, she once again emerged from beside Su Xing. Go help Xinjia. Leave him to me. Su Xing promptly said. Lin Yingmei did not think further. Seeing Wu Xinjia currently tangled up in a battle confronting the giant in the clouds Song Wan. Wu Xinjia was a wise general, not a military general after all. Breaking the 2 schools' blooming water sword array, and the mechanism magic circle, was already less than desirable. The enemy was very intelligent, and Chen Zhonglin and Tong Yao stood guard next to Shi Qian. Perhaps they knew they could not allow them to escape after rescuing Shi Qian. Just you alone? Ancestor Bailey laughed his head off. A nebula cultivator unexpectedly wanted to challenge him. You think just because you have an astral treasure that this ancestor would be unable to deal with you? Killing you is even better than killing Lin Chong. As expected, you are a stupid man. Ancestor Bailey coldly smiled. He currently worried there would be no chance to kill Lin Chong's contractor. But the opposition unexpectedly arrived on his doorstep. Recalling the 9 dragons ice seal painting, both his hands struck a seal. The blooming water divine thunder sprayed out of Ancestor Bailey's pores, taking the shape of several hundred blue water thunderclaps. Let us see if your astral treasure, or this ancestor's blooming water divine thunder, is the powerful one. Ancestor Bailey sneered. The several hundred blooming water divine thunders, interweaving into an inescapable net that attacked towards Su Xing. Ancestor Bailey was a steel-minded killer. The water thunder's rays of light enshrouded the grindstone mountain, under a fantastic environment. Moreover, when Lin Yingmei rushed towards Song Jia, Gong Su and Song Jia already took precautions. Gong Su controlled his flying sword to execute an attack, and Song Jia hardly carelessly shook the Vajra's evil smiting sword. But having already been refined to 1 star, the Arctic Star Spear broke the artifact like paper scraps. After several moves, Song Jia was no match. Sister, come quickly. At this time, seeing Tong Yao still to the side, Song Jia could only call out. Tong Yao did not dare put on airs. having seen that the Arctic star spear in Lin Yingmei's hand was already twinkling a white star. Unexpectedly, in such a short time, she refining her star weapon to one star was somewhat scary, and the only way was to join hands with the devil star Songjia. The jade water turtle dragon trident rushing out from the left brought relief to Songjia of the pressure of confronting Lin Chong. Sister Lin Chong, just let we little sisters properly play with you? Tong Yao gave a big smile. The jade water turtle dragon trident reflecting light clear and crystal, its tip penetrating. Seeing Lin Chong alone confront two star masters, how could Gong Su and Chen Zhonglin miss such a great fortunate timing? Seeing Wu Xinjia already go save Shi Qian was something they no longer cared about, as the ancestor was here, anyways. She could not be saved, and the top priority, the most urgent thing the two star masters wanted to do most was to kill Lin Chong. As long as the majestic star panther head died, only then would they be able to feel at ease. Otherwise, it would be hard to say if they could leave this place. All star cultivators immediately kill Lin Chong. Ancestor Bailey also yelled. It seemed this fighting strength on Grindstone Mountain, the panther head Lin Chong, was apparently the sole enemy. The remaining star cultivators' cultivations were not originally nebula stage, and they immediately threw themselves into an encirclement battle to kill Lin Chong. Flying sword artifact saber light, 8 mechanical art, every sort of attack method emerged more and more. With a heavenly weapon at 1 star, Su Xing's star energy progressed to nebula middle stage, and the current Lin Yingmei was incomparable. At this most critical moment, the girl was completely not a wee bit reserved, her fighting strength splitting the skies and parting the seas, a churning the river. Her figure flashed by, and Lin Yingmei's slender silhouette was just like chilly wind, suddenly violent, suddenly rushing out towards the two star masters' pincer maneuver, completely ignoring the devil star Songjia, the retreating star Tong Yao, and the rest saturation attack. The panther head super powerfully dodged, stepping across many zhang of space, arriving at the side of star cultivator, knocking a cold arrow. Not saying anything further, her spear directly cut diagonally. From the spear tip came a power that was even more chilling to the bone than at any other time. This was perhaps the first time Lin Yingmei opened up her own power unbridled. A simple spear, yet its appearance was not like before. Without mentioning its movements fast enough to simply be unable to see its shadow, along with the spear's diagonal cuts, the air immediately transmitted a light sound, just as if something was broken. A clear, cold line immediately thereupon appeared, cutting out a complete locus. His expression greatly changed, completely too late to react. This nebula late-stage star cultivator hurriedly raised both his hands to protect himself, releasing star energy with all his power, a protective artifact immediately appearing. A distinctly visible protective light suddenly appeared before Lin Yingmei's eyes, and all the cold that the spear brought with it oddly, and simply knocked a strike against it. Shatter. 9. A crisp breaking sound once again was transmitted out, a violent reaction simply out of the imagination. The star cultivator maintained his dumbstruck appearance, but the girl already swept past his body. The Arctic star spear seemed dull, yet it was actually incomparably valiant. A sharp, cold light shot onto the opposition's protective cover, and ruptured it just like a chicken egg. An ice-cold trajectory like lightning in the dark, there was a flash, and he died. This spear raised a storm. That star cultivator's neck spurted a spray of blood several meters high. Almost as if his pupils were melting, he wobbled and collapsed. A valiant attack. His pupils violently shrunk. Chen Zhonglin and the other star masters' expressions immediately changed greatly. If they suffered this spear, inevitably, they would go nowhere at all. A nebula late-stage star cultivator unexpectedly was dispatched in a flash by Lin Chong. This was the panther head? This was the panther head. But things had barely started. Lin Yingmei whirled her body, the corner of her mouth sweeping into an arrogant curve. The Arctic star spear, its cold light hovering, a ball of snowy yet not snowy fog spilling out from that mysterious pattern on the spear body. Astonishingly, it stored an ice-cold, bone-chilling and dreadful energy, its sharpness sharper than the world's most legendary blade. The other star cultivators dripped with sweat, gritting their teeth as they struck consecutive hand seals. Don't run. In a moment of pause, Song Jia stepped forward to dodge, the Vajra's evil smiting sword trying to command people before Lin Yingmei's next attack. She absolutely was not the only person with this line of thought. Nearly at the same time as the star cultivators fall, the rest of the star cultivators simultaneously moved, attacking towards Lin Yingmei together. A cold light flashed across her eyes. In an instant, a loathsome smile unexpectedly appeared on Lin Yingmei's face. Her body was seemingly in mid-air, her footsteps agilely rotating, cutting out a beautiful, graceful, admirable and outstanding circle. Just like a whirlwind, a gale springing up everywhere, she already appeared behind another star cultivator. There were no flashy or unnecessary movements whatsoever. A spear swept by. SFX. Poochie. 10. A dazzling white light blossomed in the air. In the sky, a beautiful arc streaked by, sweeping from this star cultivator's neck and away. A huge skull immediately lifted with the light, rolling towards the sky. From start to finish, unexpectedly, no blood appeared. The Arctic star spear's chilliness was increasingly deep, surprisingly already freezing over the wound when she cut. Even blood did not have time to spray out. While the narration was very long, actually, not a moment's time had passed. Lin Yingmei's attack was just about to go off smoothly, when indescribable form of ice and snow energy was already approaching her front. The others had no time to be amazed. Flying swords and magic energy discharged. When Lin Yingmei beheaded the third person, Song Jia also shouted loudly. The Vajra's evil smiting sword's light rays condensed a bit. Impressively, it was the yellow rank battle technique. Great Wisdom King Cleave. A biting cold, gold light like an auger, simply without any dodging movements like Lin Yingmei, resolutely crashed towards her. Lin Yingmei's hair danced in the air. Inconceivable snowflakes drifted around the girl's whole body. Suddenly, snowy waves violently rocked, and a snow wave fiercely flew, ice fragments radiating all around. Bang! The Arctic star spear chopped, and the cold light unexpectedly directly tore open the Great Wisdom King Cleave. Song Jia turned pale with fright. What kind of exaggeration was this? That. This moment Lin Yingmei's Arctic star spear was like an extremely ice-cold weapon. The Grindstone Mountain's temperature wildly plummeted without explanation. Suddenly, snowflakes drifted over from the girl's vicinity, seemingly like winter. Chen Zhonglin noticed every attack of Lin Chong became increasingly ice-cold, and the temperature would drop by a degree, along with this panther head appearing increasingly frightening. A sort of terrifying pressure was issued from Lin Yingmei. Chen Zhonglin quaked, his inner heart unexpectedly showing fear. So this was Maiden Mountain's 5 tiger generals? This is bad. Quickly kill Lin Chong. Tong Yao abruptly shrieked, both hands grasping the jade water turtle dragon trident. A powerful star energy was imbued into the spear, a dragon leaving the ocean. Song Jia also felt a crisis, her entire body shivering without end. She already lost her earlier icy arrogance, the Vajra's evil smiting sword light erupting. Every kind of gold, bright light shot out from the Devil's Star, her star crest entering the weapon like an unending river. Chen Zhonglin and Gong Su clearly sensed the 2 star generals' unease and fear. They also handled things at full strength, throwing out every kind of self-protective artifact. The remaining dozens of cultivators immediately launched an attack at Lin Chong. No longer with an artifact or a technique, just a direct slash. The cold light of Lin Yingmei's was all the more ice-cold, like it came from a deep freeze. This Lin Chong, just what is happening? Chen Zhonglin felt an ice-cold chill stab into his bones. Lin Chong is going to use her yellow rank spear technique. Stop her! Tong Yao shouted loudly. The jade water turtle dragon trident rolled out a roaring tsunami, imposingly surging forward. A pinning pressure like the 5 sacred mountains rushed towards Lin Yingmei. The retreating star river churning clams yellow rank style. Water dragon captures heaven, overflows the sea. The devil star giant in the clouds Song Jia also did not neglect. The Vajra's evil smiting sword's bright light condensed and split open the cold weather mist, appearing like a sharp, massive sword that shot towards Lin Yingmei. Great wisdom King Cleave. The 2-star general's 1-star heavenly weapons yellow rank styles could be rated as tyrannical, with power abundant enough to swallow the whole country. Lin Yingmei's attack had only just started, but it was a sudden start. Cold immediately flooded the entire space, the snow on the ground accumulating more and more, because of the extremely deep cold made by the star energy at the spear tip. Also because of this extreme ice cold, large snowflakes were created, the seasons seeming to have reversed. The sounds of explosions arose with a bang. In the middle of the violent whirlwind, it collected into a frightful ice tornado. The space in a range of 100 zhang immediately was a vast expanse of white snow. It could be clearly seen that the temperature had been brought down to the bottom line. Everything before their eyes was shrouded by white, their ears crammed with a whistle. The flying swords had been shot down, and the 2 earthly star styles were drawn into this blizzard, like dropping into a big bottomless hole. Song Jia and the rest's faces had no color. Suddenly there came a violent change. The star cultivators hurriedly retreated back, executing defensive maneuvers, fearing a sneak attack. An ice-cold figure similar to a millennium of black ice. The cold wind's devastation felt in the air, and Lin Yingmei's expression was cold, both her hands holding her spear. Stepping at a slow pace, in the middle of a violent storm of snow, she cut out a stunning and outstanding spear technique. Raising her spear, it carried from top to bottom an imposing power, seemingly splitting open the intact space. A world-shaking fracturing sound rang, and along with her spear's power, the ground immediately caved in. Ice crystals violently launched, snow waves splashed. The forest and the earth were jolted in a clamor, being pulled out by the roots. The enormous ice cold of the spear tip directly swept past, and this spear brought out a wide expanse of a storm. The star cultivators' defenses were instantly broken, their figures disappearing into the storm. Lin Yingmei's figure flashed, the spear's power sweeping open from front to back the sneak attacking Song Jia. The spear's cold neared an even more bone-chilling level. Within a crisp noise, the cold, crystal spear in Lin Yingmei's hand that looked like ice and snow abruptly transformed into points of sparkling, white light that shot into every direction. The person already viciously rushed out. The spear technique was continuous and unending without end. The offensive was wild as swelling waters, and the torrential downpour was becoming increasingly fierce. A distance of several zhang was closed in a flash. The girl's speed reached a peak, and along with the inertia of a full sprint, the spear broke down in midair like a snowflake. It condensed again, and promptly reappeared in her hand. This time, the attack target was Star Master Gong Su. Gong Su was a Star Master. Towards a Star Cultivator's attack, he had an extremely strong sensibility. Even if he could not resist from the front, to unexpectedly kill him was also not that simple. He hastily controlled his flying sword to block her. What actually ripped apart this brilliant white space was actually a tiny snowflake fragment. Under Lin Yingmei's deliberate acceleration, it possessed an awful destructive power. Every inch of space in the surroundings was intensively covered, such that the other star cultivators did not have the slightest chance to get away. Ding ding ding. This sound was unending. Gong Su promptly embodied a Nebula late stage's formidable combat power, the unsheathed flying sword like a viper. Quickly, he laid down a concentrated defensive net of light, under the accurate work of a slightly scorching chi flame. Unexpectedly, the effect of a shield was achieved. Those ice crystal fragments possessing awful kinetic energy were unable to have an effect, evaporating away in an instant. But Lin Chong's spear technique was far from being thought of as that simple. Master, leave quickly. Song Jia saw the danger. Lin Yingmei's spear already was like the sound of thunder. In the opponent's confusion, she promptly broke into the light net. She completely ignored the threat of the flying sword. A bloody light suddenly appeared. With a muffled grunt, Gong Su staggered backwards a few steps, as if he was drunk off wine, violently twitching from head to toe. A great amount of blood bubbled out of his throat. His throat seemed to have been pierced. Gong Su covered his throat, stunned, an expression of disbelief on his face. Great wisdom, King Cleave. Song Jia spat out a mouthful of blood, the golden sword light attempting to tear open the blizzard. However, the girl subsequently danced, her agility like a butterfly in a storm, lifting the plum tea piece. At the same time, there was blood. She pointed to her next target, Chen Zhonglin. Master, quickly escape. Tong Yao was already deathly pale, the jade water turtle dragon trident resisting with all its might. At this moment, Lin Yingmei's spear power was completely revealed. Song Jia and Tong Yao advanced to attack with their full power, wanting to fight for a final threat of a chance. But that Arctic star spear rotated incomparably strangely. The spear point would sweep, and there would be an expansive blizzard. A chop would be a biting, penetrating cold, and every attack would make the spear's temperature become even more frigid. The star crest on the girl's forehead was increasingly bright and pale. An unprecedented immense gale and blizzard enveloped the star cultivators under her spear power. No one could be spared, no one could escape. This was shockingly it. The majestic star's yellow rank spear technique. Long blizzard nights. 11. The violent blizzard finally subsided, and Lin Yingmei held the spear in one hand, standing straight. In the area of her attack, all star cultivators were met with a violent death. The devil star giant in the clouds Song Jia saw her heart had been run through. Her expression blank. The light in her eyes began to fade. Two people could not kill you. Tong Yao leaned on the jade water turtle dragon trident for support, her whole body audibly shuddering. Mortally wounded, the only reason why she had not died was that she relied on Chen Zhonglin's life-saving talisman, first seen like water talisman. 12. However, Chen Zhonglin was not as lucky as she. Fallen under Tong Yao's foot, it seemed his breath was cut short. Tong Yao frigidly laughed, kneeling down where she was. Immediately, her final speck of light also was lost. Go well, Lin Yingmei faintly said. The bodies of the ranked 72nd Devil Star Giant in the clouds Song Wan, Song Jia, and the ranked 69th retreating Star River Churning Clam Tong Meng, Tong Yao, turned into star fragments, floating into the void. In the sky, 2 crimson stars were used up, and 2 stars fell. Boom! Lin Yingmei still had not yet enough time to breathe, when suddenly, Grindstone Mountain was shook by an earthquake. A powerful pressure imposingly pressed down, hiding the sky and covering the earth. The exploding sound of rolling thunder. Not good. Master! Lin Yingmei hoisted her spear, lifted her head, and happened to spot Ancestor Bailey breach Su Xing's defenses, and she immediately forged ahead. When the yellow rank spear technique Long Blizzard Nights was executed, it truly was a skill that would make others marvel. Lin Yingmei dispatched 2 star masters in a spurt of energy, and along with her ceasing of the spear technique, Grindstone Mountain's blizzard also calmed. But at this time, there was the ear-splitting sound of rolling thunder. Raising her head, what she saw was Ancestor Bailey's blooming divine thunder flying sword happened to strike open Su Xing. The profound star barrier's spiritual energy defense vanished into thin air, and a blue water thunderclap several zhang thick came striking down. Ancestor Bailey howled with laughter. According to his magic energy, it was sufficient to kill Su Xing dozens of times. Su Xing seemingly foresaw this, opening a heaven-concealing parasol against the wind and sheltering above Su Xing's head. A ball of light interweaved into a net, layer upon layer folding around him. The thunderclap loudly struck, struggling valiantly as more than a dozen layers of light net instantly crumbled. The heaven-concealing parasol was torn to shreds without the least bit of resistance, and it was at this time that 2 crimson lights fell from the heavens onto Su Xing. At the same time, the blooming water divine thunder struck Su Xing. With 2 rays of crimson light, and the heaven-concealing parasol, a supercluster stage great cultivators tyrannical blooming water divine thunder unexpectedly could not strike the killing blow on Su Xing. Everything seemed to have been planned, every single detail accounted for. Having received such a strike, Su Xing still violently coughed up a mouthful of blood, his internal organs seemingly on fire, his body's flesh and nerves aflame. Ancestor Bailey coldly smiled and pointed with both hands. Several thunder lightning flowers floated in the air then plunged toward Su Xing. A cold light cut vertically, and the flowers drifted. Lin Yingmei had hurried in time. Ha 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 ha. This truly is an outcome outside of this ancestor's expectations. Ancestor Bailey floated in midair. More than a dozen blooming water divine thunders, forming a flower, appeared before their eyes. The petals opened and closed, taking in and sending out water lightning. Seeing Lin Yingmei exert a powerful air that was seemingly dissipating, currently, he was not worried. Grindstone Mountain at this moment suddenly dropped into winter, covered in ice and snow. The 2,600 disciples nearly had no survivors, and the sole one left alive was precisely that Ancestor Bailey. This supercluster absolutely powerful cultivator did not have any sorrow whatsoever. On the contrary, he was even more savage and dripping with pride. As far as Ancestor Bailey was concerned, this kind of situation was not necessarily an unlucky chance. This is perfect. If this ancestor exterminates 3-star generals, that Liangshan maiden wouldn't say anything, would she? Ancestor Bailey slightly raised both his hands, the water lightning flower increasing sharply by several zhang. His absolute self-confidence originated from an absolute gap in their strength. Su Xing was only a nebula middle stage. What idea was this? His next rank was but galaxy, both sides spanning a realm. In the star cultivator's domain, this was not fatal. This was absolutely frightening. Regardless of what unexpected trickery a nebula cultivator used, that was fine. And a trump card, that was also fine. Ancestor Bailey looked at it all as nothing. His sole worry, the realm-crossing star general. Wiping out Lin Chong, this ancestor would be considered the number one person. Able to enter the heavens would be merely so. Can't say for sure if this ancestor could even go see that Liangshan maiden. Ancestor Bailey's eyes suddenly shot pure electricity, vigorously and wildly rising. A powerful pressure pressed down, an intimidated Grindstone Mountain, the tremendous mountain shuddering for this reason. Even if you put this much effort into planning, what of it? Watch how this ancestor breaks you all. Go! Ancestor Bailey shouted. Several dozen thunder water flowers withered, imitating flying swords as they broke into the sky and shot forth. Su Xing raised the pure gold shield. Both hands joined as he struck hand seals. A ball of water lightning flew out from his palm. The disparity with Ancestor Bailey's was not generally large. An immense deep hole was blasted out of the earth by the blooming water divine thunder. Su Xing's pure gold shield broke within a moment, only barely able to block the blooming water divine thunder. But having the panther head Lin Yingmei's protection, an Arctic star serpent spear swept across. However, Ancestor Bailey's magic energy was excessively valiant, and Lin Yingmei and Su Xing both were beat back. Don't mind this star. The knowledge star Wu Yong tenderly scolded. Several tens of whistling thunder fire bullets successively were loosed from Silver Blade. This seemingly an artifact, yet not an artifact gunblade, was used by Wu Xinjie, actually very skillfully. Ancestor Bailey was disdainful. Ever since after Wu Xinjie greatly broke the sword array, his divine intent continuously did not leave the opponent. When he saw her go save the thief star, he was not worried. The water-parting dragon binding net was expected to give her no way out. Now seeing her shoot a dozen or so thunderfire bullets at him, Ancestor Bailey lazily waved, and a ball of blue-green light leaked from his sleeve, transformed into a long river, and instantly broke the thunderfire bullets. On what grounds do you all dare to be so impudent in front of this ancestor? Ancestor Bailey laughed loudly. This servant knowledge star does dare. Old Taoist accept death. The knowledge star Wu Xinjie's wrist turned over, and 100 talismans were thrown out. The talismans transformed midair into firebirds, the middle-grade talisman, roasting bird talisman. Ancestor Bailey first raised his flying sword to block Lin Chong, and then subsequently urged on his blooming water ability to break the talismans. Knowledge star? There's some capital. This ancestor will take your sacrificial star first. Hearing Wu Xinjie defend her reputation, Ancestor Bailey's eyes immediately revealed greed. The roasting bird talisman simply was incapable of resisting Ancestor Bailey's grandeur. Wu Xinjie cried out in fear. Her frightened face drained of color. Turning around, she ran. Xinjie, look out! The Su Xing and Lin Yingmei, who were wrapped up by Ancestor Bailey's flying sword, anxiously cried out. How could Ancestor Bailey let go of this golden opportunity to extinguish the knowledge star? His figure flipped by, instantly chasing after Wu Xingjia's back, the wind whistling in a cacophony, his killing intent roaring. Ancestor Bailey's palm raised a thunder light, slapping Wu Xingjia's back. Die! His palm hurt, having received recoil. Her clothes were ripped open by a formless power, and on the inside unexpectedly was a golden thread weave, fish scale treasure armor. Shockingly, it was the golden thread fish scale armor. Originally General Tianwei's treasure armor, it broke 10,000 flying swords of cultivators while on his body. Now on Wu Xingjia's body, it was actually suitable for her. Ancestor Bailey's fatal palm energy immediately was greatly dissolved. However, even if it was like this, Wu Xingjia still vomited a mouthful of blood, her whole body trembling. But just when Ancestor Bailey prepared to grab Wu Xingjia's head, the girl suddenly turned around. He saw the star general that should have been scared out of her mind reveal a victorious and cunning smile. You fell for it, old Taoist. A purple-colored talisman floated out. Within such a short distance, Ancestor Bailey simply was unable to see it. The talisman flashed, then faded, sticking onto the ancestor's abdomen. He saw that talisman's carved script had some profound design, and when the talisman dispersed, a violet great array surged. A powerful pressure unexpectedly made Ancestor Bailey incapable of budging. Immediately afterwards, a purple magic cloud was raised over his head. Seeing that magic cloud flash with lightning within, rolling thunder grandly shook. When the purple talisman came out, shockingly the world changed color. 1,000 zhang purple flame. Thunder and lightning rushed out from the magic circle, firmly trapping Ancestor Bailey within. Impossible! Ancestor Bailey was frightened enough that his face was white, promptly chaining together and striking hand seals. Several magic weapons, artifacts, everything flew out seemingly to ward off this terrible calamity. This talisman of the knowledge star Wu Xingjia was awe-inspiringly the supreme grade talisman, heavenly calamity talisman. Boom! 100 bolts of thick violet-colored thunder and lightning struck down from the magic cloud. The large power unexpectedly cut down Grindstone Mountain a number of zhang. The purple light and frightening lightning could be seen as far as 1,000 li away. Taking advantage of this, Su Xing and Lin Yingmei promptly cut down the out-of-control Divine Intense flying sword, rushing to Wu Xingjia's side. Dealing with a supercluster cultivator could only happen by relying on the kind of supreme-grade talisman that was the Divine Punishment Talisman. Otherwise, they were simply incapable of shaking him up the slightest. The violet thunder and lightning disappeared, and the weather was once again sunny and cloudless. The smoke and dust dispersed away, slowly revealing a battered and exhausted shadow. Su Xing and the others' hearts sunk. Sure enough, a supercluster cultivator was valiant. The supreme-grade talisman, the heavenly calamity talisman, was surprisingly unable to deal with him. The Battle of Grindstone Mountain seemed very dangerous, but all the developments finished within the knowledge star, the resourceful star, Wu Yang's expectations. From the very beginning when Su Xing used divine intent to break the 100 Disciples' sword array, to Lin Yingmei's long blizzard nights, that cut down 2 star masters, and dropped the power of 2 crimson stars onto Su Xing to block the imminent peril of the blooming water divine thunder, to even when she announced her own identity to lure Ancestor Bailey to chase and kill her, using the golden thread fish scale armor to escape a calamity, then using the heavenly calamity talisman after for a quick kill. This series of plans could even be said to be clever to the highest peak. The 100 cultivators' ambush here in this trap was cleanly swept through, pulled out by the roots, especially the heavenly calamity talisman. This supreme-grade talisman was sufficient to rapidly dispatch a supercluster early-stage cultivator. This was also why when they found out Shi Qian had been captured, Su Xing went to save her. Wu Xingjia did not have a reason to oppose. But Wu Xingjia still underestimated Ancestor Bailey's strength. Ancestor Bailey was battered and exhausted, his entire body's flesh lacerated from the ordeal, bruised all over. Relying on his own mastery over the blooming water divine thunder, and a few magic weapons to protect himself, barely surviving from under the heavenly calamity talisman. Wu Xingjia's face this time genuinely turned white, not expecting him to not perish under the heavenly calamity. However, the knowledge star's attack definitely was not ineffective. Although he had escaped a disaster, Ancestor Bailey's cultivation was violently subdued, his vitality greatly debilitated. No more did he have the extremely angry and imposing super strength from before. A pale and colorless face twisted with a look brimming with fury. After all, it was a supreme grade charm. Not being scattered ashes and smoke was considered very lucky. Ancestor Bailey roared. 18 watercolored flying swords flew out of his mouth. The flying sword's light was dim. His acute spirit greatly diminished, but it was still sharp. This happened to be the blooming water sword sect's famous sword art ability. The 18 flying swords twisted for the kill towards the knowledge star. Wu Xingjie swiftly retreated, a copper chain flying out, but it immediately was cut down by the flying sword. A cold light was directly launched, crisscrossing with the sword as it twisted towards the knowledge star's neck. At the critical moment, Lin Yingmei dropped from the sky, waving her spear and blocking the flying sword. Die! Ancestor Bailey was thoroughly mad, chaining together seals, piecing together his last magic energy, as the 18 flying swords violently attacked towards Lin Yingmei. At this moment, the two girls were somewhat too spent. Su Xing no longer hesitated. Stabilizing the boiling qi and blood in his body, he shouted, a rainbow shadow flying out of his astral bag. That rainbow shadow was the magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief, and it drastically grew by several zhang, suspended above Ancestor Bailey's head. Ancestor Bailey was a veteran of 100 battles, his reaction swift, knowing that the circumstances had a change. At once, he emitted a ball of protective green light, wrapping himself within. The green light was extremely thick. The entire body of the figure 3 zhang within could not be clearly seen. 3 flowers the size of wicker baskets revolved over his head, a sweet scent dispersing forth. When Ancestor Bailey controlled the flying sword, he could only use all his power to mobilize a protection magic from a sage art. At the moment Ancestor Bailey activated the protection magic, the magical fire cloud handkerchief's rotation sped up and formed into a scarlet-red cloud. Together with the surrounding air, it all became a thick blood-red color. Flipping and rolling, waves of bloody strips, heaven and earth was enshrouded within that dazzling blood red. The red cloud surreptitiously rolled a bloody flame. That blood cloud and blood waves rapidly spun with an oppressive rumbling sound. A giant dark red flame dropped towards Ancestor Bailey. This fire rain's range was enormous, enveloping the area of 100 meters surrounding Ancestor Bailey within it, making escape impossible. The fire cloud dropped with a rumble, and Ancestor Bailey's magic just happened to complete, the timing unexpectedly not lacking even by 100th. Such an insignificant artifact and you dare show it. Ancestor Bailey very fiercely bellowed. Although those 3 flowers the size of baskets revolved at a great speed, they swept away much of the blaze, but these flames dropped in succession unstoppable. These dark red flames were like maggots attached to bones, crawling all over Ancestor Bailey's green barrier. This is magical fire? Ancestor Bailey immediately discerned the difference of these flames. Originally, the green light was dazzling, and the flowers that had not been touched by a drop of impurity would flash a scorched color when dripped by the magical fire. Their revolution speed greatly slowed, and in a split second, dark red flames by the hundreds and thousands changed, transforming the flowers into black-colored charcoal. Bang! The flowers ceased rotating, exploding open, mixing together with the flames. Without the resistance of the flowers, the magical cloud fire rushed into the thick green light, simply, as if it was a room with no one in it. Although the green light was thick like it had substance, actually Ancestor Bailey had used a few magics from the 5 spirits' heavenly book, urging the spirit chi of the world around him, and combining it with his own blooming water divine thunder, to form a protective screen. This was specifically for use to guard against flying swords and magic weapon attacks. He was not one of the 3 ancestral masters of the blooming water sword sect for nothing. Even if he had received the heavenly calamity talisman strike, his vitality greatly harmed. His remaining magic power was still formidable. This was the power of a supercluster cultivator. The gap between them was actually too great. However, this grindstone mountain was destined to become the place that ancestor Bailey buried his bones. The magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief was not a simple artifact, and she unceasingly sucked Su Xing's star energy, acting as replenishment for the magical cloud fire sea. Using the words Gong Kaiwei said before, the magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief was even more like a strange and unusual magic tool. Perhaps because it was this kind of rarely seen magic weapon that the deviant star, the red-haired devil, would originally sign a contract with Sun Hua. Because, to the blaze refining saber, this magical fire really was a delicious treat. Su Xing swung both his hands, spitting up a mouthful of essence blood. That essence blood became a vortex in mid-air that swirled and condensed. In a flash, it turned into a broadsword with 9 interlocking red rings, and the face of a demon from purgatory itself. This was the blaze refining 9 Hells saber. Warmly nurtured inside Su Xing's star crest for a long time, this was still the first time Su Xing had brought it out. That blaze refining saber seemingly was a monster in high spirits, issuing a hoarse and crisp cry. 9 crimson lights struck upon the magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief. The dark red magical fire imposingly and violently swelled, turning into something akin a torrential downpour that reached the heavens. In a split second, the skies were murky over a dark earth. The thick green light obstructed this frightening sea of fire no more, and Ancestor Bailey let out an angry howl. It seemed he had received a strike that was not light. It's the 9 Hells magic flame. To you, mage. And another miserable shriek. Ancestor Bailey did not care one bit for his status as a sect's great scholar as he loudly screamed. However, the 9 Hells magic flame, that the blaze refining saber and the magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief mutually created was truly terrifying. Burning demons under heaven, a vital energy dark technique. 3 ordinary magics were hard to contend against. If Su Xing did not originally unexpectedly rush forward and kill Sun Hua in one step, should he have waited until he used the magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief to form the 9 Hells magic flame, then he and Lin Yingmei would have perished without doubt. Ancestor Bailey relied on the past 200 years of simple and refined magic energy, in addition to the blooming water divine thunder that had been refined more than 10 times. It had some use in stopping magic-type techniques, else he would have already become ashes. Su Xing looked at the Ancestor Bailey below him wrapped up by magic flames, and his face was also pale. His 7 apertures all faintly flowed with traces of blood. As expected, a supercluster cultivator could not be covered. In addition to the heavenly calamity talisman, the long and warmly nourished 9 Hells magic flame, both were unable to kill him. These days, the people who could reach him were few. Su Xing raised high above his head the blaze refining saber. Loudly roaring, he cut down towards the Ancestor Bailey wrapped in the sea of flames. Hacking the demon saber down, the area then was already not the area it began as. Su Xing's heart was like steel. With all of his killing intent, all of his essence, chi and spirit slashed down together with this blade. The 9 rings on the blade let out a burning sound like drinking blood, and an area of 100 li around Grindstone Mountain was enveloped with a blood red, a miserable evil wind, and loud mournful cries. The 2 girls, Wu Xinjie and Lin Yingmei, retreated at once to Shiqian's front. The 2's star energy wildly shot out and formed a protective barrier. Su Xing cut forth with the sword, and Ancestor Bailey's 18 blooming water, flying swords promptly intertwined to block. In this sea of flame world, an entirely different light appeared. The originally snowy scene Lin Yingmei made was melted in the blink of an eye, and the blaze refining saber launched a chain of 9 darkly colored flames. The flames interlocked in a flash, and melted the 18 attacking flying swords. When the saber was swung down, the demon fire chain soared and attacked Ancestor Bailey. This was that 9 consecutive hellfire demonic slash. Ancestor Bailey's full body robe unbearably broke open from head to toe. His body just like a sieve, filled with holes, bleeding without end. Another grievous appearance, and his arms had already exploded apart. This ancestor and you all cannot exist together. Ancestor Bailey was truly too tenacious. The Heavenly Calamity Talisman, Blaze Refining Saber, 9 Hell's Magic Flame, 9 consecutive Hellfire Demonic Slash. Su Xing nearly exhausted all of his star energy, and Ancestor Bailey was not yet ash. However, he seemed unable to endure any further. Ancestor Bailey's stance fled, wanting to escape. According to a supercluster stage cultivator's fully employed escape technique, he probably could flee outside of 1,000 li in the blink of an eye. If they let him escape, it inevitably would cause trouble of no end. Only with great difficulty did they finally manage to put Ancestor Bailey on his last legs. How could Su Xing let him have his wish? Loudly shouting, the magic sealing sword was assigned its use. The sword transformed without a shadow, and Ancestor Bailey's escape technique had not yet executed when it was broken by 10,000 sword shadows. The ancestor was overwhelmed with shock, and he abandoned all hope. And in this split second of an obstruction, Lin Mei changed into a graceful whirlwind that shot forth. The Arctic Star Spear did not have any obstructions at all, running straight through Ancestor Bailey. The spear tip circulated a cold wind, smashing apart his internal organs. Ancestor Bailey screamed, "Aya!" seemingly not resigned to unexpectedly die at the hands of a puny nebula cultivator. Thereupon, the spear edge slashed apart the ancestor's body, a shadow flying out of Ancestor Bailey's forehead. Shockingly, it was a great star cultivator's refined essence soul. 5. However, this kind of soul mostly became malicious spirits because of resentment. Su Xing definitely did not want a malicious ghost plaguing him, and pointing his hand, the already prepared ghost pearl flew out and sucked that spirit into itself. The pearl dimly flashed like colored glass, fully trembling a moment, seemingly endlessly satisfied by the replenishment of a great star cultivator's spirit. The pearl dimmed, seemingly even more black by a tad. Wu Xinjie already said before, until this ghost pearl became pitch black like ink, then it unlocked its ghost path ability, which seemingly was not far away. Su Xing coldly smiled. All of a sudden, he felt as if all the air inside of his body was drawn out. The magical fire cloud fragrant handkerchief had devoured all of his star energy and flew back into his astral bag. The blaze refining saber also was seemingly covered in dust and bleakly turned into a ball of essence blood that scattered. Su Xing went limp and fell over. Lin Mei was just about to step forward to catch Su Xing, but at this moment, an even quicker figure swept past, embracing Su Xing upon her bosom. Su Xing. She was the thief star flea on a drum Shi Yuan. This moment, Shi Yuan looked into Su Xing's eyes very complicatedly. She tightly bit her lip. "I've never seen a star master with your kind of stupidity," Shi Qian forcefully smiled. "Speaking of your savior like this, it's not so good, is it? Shouldn't soap operas have an emotional, hot kiss?" Su Xing grabbed Shi Qian's shoulder, teasing her. What a soap opera was, Shi Qian did not know. But at this very moment, she indeed wanted to do as much. Thus Shi Yuan, in front of Su Xing's 2 women, disregarded everything and kissed him. Glistening teardrops fell and withered in the wind. From this moment forward, she was this man's star general. The forehead of the Shi Yuan kissing Su Xing suddenly twinkled with a brown light. This light was just as if someone had used a knife to draw a portrait stroke by stroke, the strokes vivid and powerful. Entering his bones, at the same time, Su Xing felt his forehead burn with a fiery pain. The Su Xing who originally already had been exhausted of strength, in a split second, felt a fantastic power cram into his body. A crimson star glittered in the sky. The kiss finished, Shi Yuan's big eyes opened slightly, covering her mouth as she looked at the star crest of Su Xing's forehead. Inconceivably, she unexpectedly signed a contract? To the side, Wu Xinjie and Lin Mei were dumb as wooden chickens. Kiss contract. The knowledge star said in a low voice, disbelieving. She had only heard of a star master's kiss contract. She had never heard of a star maiden initiating the star cultivator's kiss contract. And this time, it greatly toppled Wu Xinjie's understanding towards contracts. Tu Lin Mei cast an indefinitely bewildered glance towards the resourceful star. Su Xing, who had signed on his third star general, had surpassed all others before and since in Liangshan. Just what was going on? Fortune and misfortune lead to each other. Wipe your eyes and wait. Wu Xinjia lightly waved her feather fan, slightly smiling. It seems our master has revised the Maiden Mountain structure. Have you two signed a contract? Su Xing touched his feverish forehead, perplexed. He naturally did not know how irregular of a matter it was for he to sign a third-star general. With regards to this guest in Liangshan, genuine shock was far from as grand and magnificent as 3-star maidens, and another expansion of his star energy made him but pleasantly surprised. This young lady, the thief star flea on a drum Qian, from this day forth, is Su Xing's woman. Shi Yuan said bashfully. Hearing this seemingly familiar declaration, Su Xing for a moment did not know what expression he should have had. We had better leave quickly. This has already attracted the attention of many people. The knowledge star knew now was not the time to heave a sigh. Grindstone Mountain's extraordinary image was continuous, spreading to 1,000 li, and in addition to the fall of 2 crimson stars, perhaps now already attracted were great quantities of star cultivators, star masters, and schools all rushing towards this place. If they still did not leave, in case they were encircled, given the current state of everyone, everything pointed to disaster. Su Xing nodded and arranged his things. There was no time to lose. The 3-star maidens glanced at one another, flashing into the star nest with good coordination. His ocean of consciousness swelled, and Su Xing felt his divine intent once again expand several sizes. Then, he hastily rushed towards the bottom of the mountain. If the knowledge star's expectations were true, 10 minutes later, dozens of escape lights arrived at Grindstone Mountain in succession. They wore blue robes, their feet planted on blue water flying swords. 5. It was the Blooming Water Sword Sect's headmaster, as well as 4 protectors and 12 hall masters. When they saw the falling star from the main hall, the Taoist Luo River had even believed the ancestral master already achieved the objective, and thus was secretly delighted. Originally, when he found out that Ancestor Bailey personally appeared, he thought that victory was already at hand. A supercluster stage cultivator was top quality in the Azure Dragon territory, broadly speaking. Even if Lin Chang's Star Master was only Nebula stage, how could he possibly be an opponent? But soon after the Purple Thunder Heavenly Calamity, the magic fireworks sea immediately made this Blooming Water Sword Sect headmaster's complexion change greatly. That entirely was not a Blooming Water Sword Sect power. And in his impressions, the Ancestral Master also did not have this kind of magic. Thus, he awakened the 12 Hall Masters and the 4 Protectors to rush over on their flying swords. However, they were a step too late. Reflected in their eyes was something like an azura, and the wretched sight of the desolation of trauma filled their eyes. Half of the place was cold and icy to the bone like the extreme north. Half was burnt by flame, and choking as if they had reached the underworld of purgatory. As far as the eye could see, there were the bodies of both schools' 100 disciples. Ah! The protectors and hall masters grieved, crying out loud and heartbroken, the sound shaking 100 li 6. How could this be? Ling Xian said, trembling. It was still the Taoist Luo River that was the most calm. He shouted, "Quickly go look for the ancestor." A moment after, a hall master discovered Chen Zhonglin's corpse in addition to Ancestor Bailey's remaining adornments. One act of a liver and guts cut to pieces 7 fact was placed before them. Immediately, several cultivators nearly fainted. Impossible, how could the ancestral master? Ling Xian was dumbfounded. This result was something they did not anticipate in any event. The ambush by 100 disciples guided by the Grand Azure Dragon territories, front-ranking cultivator, was unexpectedly completely extinguished. Who would believe this if they spoke of it? For the sake of the ancestral master's revenge, we must slaughter Lin Chong. Every cultivator was extremely furious. This was the heaviest price the Blooming Water Sword Sect had paid since its founding. Everyone currently wished for the aftermath of their killing to quickly arrive. Headmaster, the Taoist Luo River's face was enveloped with cold frost. For today's disgrace, This sect and Lin Chong's Star Master cannot coexist together. Ling Xian and the other hall masters hear my orders. Subordinates present. The cultivators were solemn. Immediately send out the alliance of 10 kill warrant. 8. Have the alliance of 10 smother Lin Chong. The Taoist Luo River's voice was frigid. The alliance of 10 kill warrant was the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great schools. Once it was issued, it signified that the other 9 great sects necessarily had to kindly provide their assistance. However, with this much on one hand, everything that occurred on Grindstone Mountain inevitably would be known by the other sections. Although this matter would become a disgrace upon the blooming Water Sword sect, at this very moment, it was already not the time for face. Even the ancestral master was dead, so it was obvious how frightening Lin Chong was. The Taoist Luo River would not brave this danger. Shall we inquire with the ancestral master? Ling Xian asked. The Taoist Luo River muttered to himself, I shall personally report to the ancestral master. Gazing towards that Grindstone Mountain, the Taoist Luo River looked fierce. This Taoist will make Lin Chong in the Azure Dragon Territory have no place to stand, unable to move a single step. Every one of the blooming Water Sword sect at Grindstone Mountain searched the surrounding 100 li for ages, and only after they buried the disciples' bodies did they unwillingly leave. They had not left for long, when the group including the Taoist Luo River did not discover a white cloud in the 100 li above Grindstone Mountain slowly separate. An exceedingly refined girl sat upon this mist, carrying a trace of a profoundly mysterious smile, as she leisurely departed. 9. Just at the time of the blooming Water Sword sect shook, everywhere in the Azure Dragon Territory, and the Vermilion Bird Territory simultaneously shook, because of the crimson fall of 2 stars, and the rising of another crimson star. Only 3 years had passed since the start of the star duels, and according to what was recorded in the past, the very first 4 or 5 years was the time star generals hid their strengths and bided their time. The majority of star masters were unlikely to truly be irreconcilable adversaries, even if they met. Nowadays, this split-second fall of 2 stars was considered rarely seen, especially with the raising of another. As long as a person had even a bit of brain, they would also feel this was a dangerous sign. The alliance of 10 chase to kill warrant was transmitted down immediately. The Lin Chong that signed a contract alarmed the entire Azure Dragon Territory, and Lin Chong's master was one who made his name in war. The 10 great allied schools, and the 100 great schools, all without exception established an oath to smother the majestic star. In a while, Grindstone Mountain's paired star fall had been fervently blown up into many problems and troubles, becoming the topic every cultivator leisurely chatted about. To increasingly distort the truth, Grindstone Mountain's paired star fall, 10, was more and more exaggerated. Su Xing was portrayed as a being with formidable powers, an ugly monster that used some shameful method to dominate Lin Chong. His cultivation was extremely strange, opening some kind of mysterious halo. When he killed the blooming Water Sword sect's ancestor, one summoned Purple Thunder Heavenly Calamity, spur on 9 underworld magic flame. 11 later, and the supercluster cultivator was tyrannically and simply killed. This method and power could be rated as very frightening, just like its terrible name could be compared with the demonic head of those days. Due to not knowing the name of Lin Chong's master, everyone dubbed him this nickname for him, Purple Thunder Monster. 12, however, how could Su Xing know at this time of these gossipy scandals? Traversing over land and sea, recuperating for many days, did he finally return to Heavenly Water City. Entering inside the city, Su Xing discovered people everywhere were discussing the Purple Thunder Monster incident. Inquisitively listening briefly about this matter, he found this monster was truly ferocious. It extinguished 100 galaxy cultivators at once in a single move, and he also heard it could get rid of several star generals in a flash. Seeing those people turn pale at the mention of a tiger, yet having a longing and admiring expression, Su Xing said to himself, strange, just what day was this that would turn out a frightening monster as this? Xinjia, have you heard of what the cause was behind this Purple Thunder Monster? Su Xing asked. Hearing from these people's words, this monster made the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great sects issue a kill warrant. Truly something extraordinary. The Knowledge Star thought for a long time, and still could not figure anything out. I have heard of the Heavenly Een monster, however this is really strange. Listening to their description, it is somewhat familiar. Wu Xinjie gloomily could not think up of anything. Could it be those different tribes of devil schools, the Vermilion Bird Territory, or the Black Turtle Territory, are again preparing to assault the Azure Dragon Territory? Shi Yuan eagerly suggested. Her excited voice seemed to have been anticipating this for a long time. Impossible. In short, just be careful. Su Xing wrinkled his brow, looking all around. His alert manner made the girls puzzled. Su Xing, what's going on? Shi Yuan asked. Even if she had signed a contract, she still liked to directly call out Su Xing's name. However, these two words Su Xing were very sweet, making Wu Xinjie quite jealous. I feel that after we entered the city, lots of people are paying attention to me. After Shi Yuan became his star general, Su Xing's current divine sight was considerably keen. Even though he had not practiced any sort of martial art pertaining to the exercise of divine sight, his pure divine intent, as before, was in the same realm, lofty and outstanding. The ill gazes of several visitors were somewhat sharp. Su Xing already painstakingly used a qi hiding art when he entered the city, but he did not expect he would still be locked onto. Might as well mention, every star general possessed her own unique abilities. After Star Masters signed a contract, they would share in the star general's star energy and a few of her abilities. The thief star Shi Yuan's ability was hide qi, and even if Su Xing did not use the oneness of heaven and man, the hide qi's capabilities were also very good. Be careful, the Blooming Water Sword sect definitely will go mad. If they issued an alliance of 10 kill warrant, then that will not be easy to manage. Wu Xinjie suddenly recalled something, saying so seriously. Alliance of 10 kill warrant. Su Xing was just not that interested when he heard this name. Su Xing carefully hid towards the efficacious star's residence. On the road, Wu Xinjie briefly introduced the usage of this alliance of 10 kill warrant. The so-called alliance of 10 naturally was the 10 schools of 1 clear, 2 halls, 3 palaces and 4 sword sections. Previously the devil cult tribes spied on Azure Dragon Territory's resources, and several times launched star cultivator wars. The Azure Dragon Territory once was in a crisis for a time, and the current Heavenly Spirit Holy Master, too, established this alliance of 10. By means of these 10 great sects as heads, more than 100 schools were administered, forming an integral whole joined in opposition against the invading tribes. Ordinarily, if this alliance of 10 kill warrant was transmitted down, the other allies necessarily had to fulfill their obligation to chase to kill. It can't be. Chase to kill? Shi Yuan was speechless. Although the 10 great sects harbor ulterior motives nowadays, if they really issue an alliance of 10 kill warrant, that will be more troublesome. Wu Xinjie muttered to herself. Even if the other factions disregarded it, they would at least inform the Blooming Water Sword sect as a special favor. It's a bit thorny. Su Xing did not hope to get rid of 100 disciples from the 4 great sword sects. A meticulously nurtured Star Master, and a supercluster Ancestral Master, was unlike anything that had happened before. A supercluster cultivator's death definitely would make the Blooming Water Sword sect violently change. Even if it really issued one, it was an unworthy accident. Thinking to hear, Su Xing added even more caution and speed to his pace. When he reached the residence, he entered from the back. The one who opened the door was Ensuan. Seeing Su Xing, her eyes right away brimmed with tears, and she restrained her excitement. Big brother, quickly come in. Locking the door, Ensuan led Su Xing to a private room. Is little sister Shi Yuan all right? Ensuan was nervous and restless. She both did not want to see something happen to Su Xing, and did not want something to have happened to Shi Yuan. But seeing Su Xing return alone, the efficacious star divine physician had an ominous premonition. Thanks, sister, for your concern. I am exceedingly fine. Several lights flashed forth, and 3 maidens appeared in succession at Su Xing's side. Ah! And Suan covered her mouth. amazed as she pointed at the thief star that fantastically emerged from the star nest. The thief star hugged Su Xing's arm, intimately saying, "Suwen, introducing this servant's master to make your acquaintance. Big brother Su Xing, you contracted Shuryuan?" And Suwen very quickly regained her calm. Wu Xinjie secretly admired how quickly she could calm down. If it was someone else who was aware that Su Xing contracted 3-star maidens, perhaps there would be a moment of first-rate blankness. Su Xing nodded. "Congratulations, big brother Su Xing, congratulations, little sister Shuryuan." And Suwen smiled, her eyes slightly holding a trace of envy. Big brother definitely is very tired. Suwen shall go help big brother. Elder sister and little sister, please bring a few pills over. I've really troubled you some. Su Xing was sorry. Grindstone Mountain's battle made the three wasted and exhausted. Recuperating for several days, they still had not recovered. Currently, thinking of that supercluster cultivator brought bits of lingering fear. If it was not for relying on the Knowledge Star's heavenly calamity talisman, that truly was difficult to say. Shuryuan deeply was aware that Su Xing went to save her facing an unbelievable risk. In her heart, she was filled with sweet happiness and was moved. Her gaze towards Su Xing was indeed full of tender feelings, but it was difficult for her to express that. Lin Yingmei very helplessly sighed towards these two sisters. Master's virgin body seemed to be anything but reassured. "Right, quickly look at what harvest we had." Shuryuan excitedly rubbed her fists and wiped her palms. As an accomplished robber, she treated the spoils of war with quite the expectations at any moment. Su Xing threw out several astral bags. Battling at Grindstone Mountain, Su Xing lost the pure gold shield, the heaven-concealing parasol, more than 50 thunderfire bullets, and the star energy of the blaze refining saber that had been warmly nurtured for a long time was completely exhausted. 3 Of course these were tolerable. The most regretful perhaps was the Knowledge Star Wuyong's life-saving talisman, Heavenly Calamity Talisman. This supreme-grade talisman's value naturally did not need more mentioning. Just the power to rapidly dispatch a galaxy cultivator was enough to intimidate Liangshan continent. What a pity the soul copy would be used up just like that. Wu Xinjie actually was not that distressed. Compared to Su Xing's safety, never mind that it was the Heavenly Calamity Talisman. Even if it was the heaven-concealing star feather fan that was tossed, it was only but so. Compared to their losses, laying out the gains this time would make anyone stupefied. The pile of things from the several astral bags included knives, forks, swords and halberds, jade, stones and pearls, letters and books, long banners and prayer flags, as well as a large amount of rare and colorful talismans, mechanisms and materials. More than a dozen black bronze flasks of all sizes faintly emitted a medical fragrance. Further, there was a top-quality crystal carved and chiseled to completion. A large bottle more than 1 che high, sealing charms added to its top, was filled on the inside with a few fantastic spirits, illuminating the inside of the bottle like fireflies. It's a soul-sealing bottle. 5 Shuryuan's eyes lit up. The soul-sealing bottle, the special bottle that the Divine Machine clan used when it manufactured mechanical beasts, and it could urge spirits to be enclosed within the bottle. Shuryuan manufactured mechanisms, and she happened to wonder about what to do with those spirits. Now this soul-sealing bottle was truly a great help. Worthy of being called the 1,000 Machine Gang's Star Master. It seemed the sect cultivated Gong Su without sparing anything. Other than this, Shuryuan also found a soul wug. 6 Putting all the souls into the wug could make these souls mutually devour one another to advance them to a higher rank soul. The Divine Machine clan in those years exploited soul wugs to manufacture powerful energy sources for commander mechanical beasts. 7 Otherwise, how could legend say a 10th rank commander soul wug 8 could be found by the Divine Machine clan? However, this soul wug seemed to be somewhat coarse. It was a basic grade magic tool, in the end manufacturing 4th grade souls. With the material to manufacture, the souls and such naturally could not do without exercising the divine intent great technique of controlling mechanical beasts. Powerful divine intent happened to be the Divine Machine clan's greatest characteristic. Relying on these powerful divine intents, could they order about countless inconceivable and magical mechanisms and large objects? The spread intent divine art. 9 Gong Su brought also was considered not bad. Besides Gong Su's, Chen Zhonglin's items were also not few. The Blooming Water Sword sect had even more fame than the Thousand Machine Gang, rich and overbearing. Inside his astral bag, they found 20 liang of relic blade sand. It seems it was Ancestor Bailey that specially procured this for Chen Zhonglin's Star General to refine. It was just that the second refinement that needed 40 liang did not refine in time, and that shortage of 20 liang was currently inside Su Xing's pocket. Water turned to sword art. 10. Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique Chant. 11 and such, as well as the artifacts actually were far more impressive than Gong Su's. Just a galaxy artifact Blood Ram pot was enough to make up for Su Xing's artifact losses. Finally, everyone's line of sight all went towards Ancestor Bailey's things. A supercluster cultivator evidently made them even more inquisitive. And how could the things carried on the body of the nearly peak cultivator in the Azure Dragon territory be inferior? Just the assorted sizes of black bronze vials of medicines was more than a dozen bottles. 45 Blooming Water Cultivating Origin pills was sufficient to let Su Xing's Blooming Water Divine Thunder to progress like it was flying. Inside the Heavenly Calamity Talisman, Ancestor Bailey wasted away nearly all of his artifacts and magic weapons to resist the Heavenly Calamity. Only a 9 Dragons Ice Seal painting and a Galaxy Supreme Grade Artifact Water Parting Dragon Binding Net were left. Other than this, Ancestor Bailey had hoarded some of many rarely seen materials. 2 dark red 6-petal little grass. Its leaves had a dark-colored heart symbol linking its 6 leaves into a single hole, mutually shining, faintly emitting a sort of fantastic reaction. A stalk of verdant and succulent bamboo sparkled like jade, with pure and magnificent light. Its interior was like jadeite, dark green-colored glass, and the bamboo emitted a clear and charming air, seeping into the soul. Smelling this was incomparably soothing, more profound than a panacea. "Do you recognize this?" Su Xing asked. The 3 girls all shook their heads. They were not adept at crystal and stone materials. Wait for little sis Suwen to come, and then ask her. She's the divine physician, and will be the most expert towards this. Wu Xinjie said. It really serves them right. Shi Yuan hummed. The future will still be more worrisome. The Blooming Water Sword sect will not be prepared to let this go. Wu Xinjie said. Stealing the Blooming Water Divine Thunder True Technique was considered unwise, and originally losing it was but so. She had never thought it would draw the Blooming Water Sword sect's counterattack. Only naturally, because of a 5 Spirits Law heavenly book. The Knowledge Star was not at all regretful. And even if she was given a second opportunity to choose, the outcome would still be this way. This jade strip. Lin Yingmei suddenly let out a bewildered voice. Upon her emotionless face, she revealed a rare trace of astonishment. What's the matter? Is something inside? Su Xing asked, smiling. Lin Yingmei lifted her head and looked at her master. This was the first time she had a kind of startled expression of being shocked. Master, you take a look. She threw the jade strip over. The majestic star pursed her lips, somewhat carrying a trace of pity. This cultivator perhaps died, but will not close his eyes. Su Xing was indeed inquisitive about the contents inside that jade strip that could make the cool Lin Yingmei slightly regretful. Taking the jade strip and examining it, reflected into his mind were 9 flamboyant ancient characters. Heavenly Spirit, Earthly Fiend, Purple Star, 5 Elements Sword. Hearing this rather extraordinary name, it must be known that Heavenly Spirit, Earthly Fiend, Purple Star were the levels of grades for astral treasures. To dub these all at once onto the sword, clearly this was very interesting. Su Xing proceeded to explore it, and his expression changed. The exaggeration of the interior of the jade strip far exceeded his expectations. The jade strip recorded a short, immemorial sword chart, and this sword chart was very interesting. The first half was not sword arts or powers, but rather an excessively lengthy segment introducing material pertaining to training the sword. Recorded inside was every sort of as yet unheard of forging materials. Altogether it was split into 9 chapters of solar, lunar, astral, draconic, metallic, wooden, aquatic, flame and earthen. 2. For example, the metallic chapters sword forging materials. The 9th rank heaven-tearing gold dragons, 3 golden dragon scales as a sword bone, and transforming dragon saliva as a supplementary material. Secondly, there were also other materials. In brief, the metallic chapter sword forging simply was a super magic weapon. After Wuxia and Shi Yuan finished reading, they were also stupefied. Heavenly Spirit Earthly Fiend Purple Star 5 Elements Sword. Unexpectedly, it's an immemorial sword art. That old Taoist actually could get this sort of thing. Wuxia clicked her tongue. This is an immemorial sword art? Su Xing asked, surprised. Each of the sword forging materials of the 9 chapters were unique, any one of them enough to shock Liangshan continent. In addition, this manner of sword unexpectedly was not a standalone. Rather it was a sword art linked together, actually making Su Xing not dare to believe. Wuxia nodded. The Heavenly Spirit Earthly Fiend Purple Star 5 Elements, sword in Liangshan continent, was one of the well-known supreme grade immemorial sword arts. The sword altogether was divided into the 9 varieties of molds: solar, lunar, astral, draconic, metallic, wooden, aquatic, flame and earthen. Each type had a most outstanding supreme grade forging material, and every type altogether had 12 handles. With 9 types, it just happened to be 108 swords. Legends said the cultivator that could refine a Heavenly Spirit Earthly Fiend Purple Star 5 Elements sword could turn the 5 elements upside down, reverse heaven and earth, and rampage through Liangshan. Su Xing did not doubt this point. On the basis of every sword's material brought out alone, it could raise frightening skies and stormy seas. Turn the 5 elements upside down? Shi Yuan was moved. Every person in Liangshan continent possessed a unique 5 elements constitution. The 5 elements supported or suppressed one another, often with a result that caught people off guard. What arbitrarily turning the 5 elements upside down signified went without saying. Such a great influence. Su Xing was in awe, and slightly sympathetic to Ancestor Bailey. The Heavenly Spirit Earthly Fiend Purple Star 5 Elements sword was very famous in Liangshan. Things pertaining to it circulated widely, however, because the requirements to forge this divine weapon were too harsh. Every kind of sword material all were extremely unique, rarely seen, and even somewhat never before seen. Whether it be 1 or 10, only by creating the 108 could the power of the Heavenly Spirit Earthly Fiend Purple Star 5 Elements sword be realized. And that was enough to make cultivators hope and timidly step forward. This kind of immemorial remnant sword art in the Azure Dragon territory was even more like an exceedingly distant legend. Ancestor Bailey was a supercluster cultivator. As a top-ranking cultivator in the Azure Dragon territory, as well as a large sex ancestral master, having this type of immemorial sword art's secret recipe was not strange. Has no one ever forged it? Su Xing felt this was pitiful. Su Xing, it will do for you to forge it. Heh, you have we 3 sisters, which Liangshan has never had. The thief star Shi Yuan giggled. The harder something was, the more she wanted to challenge it. Seeing the materials listed, Su Xing currently did not have any strength to make a vain attempt. However, Shi Yuan had a phrase that resonated deeply with Su Xing. As far as Su Xing was concerned, challenging the limits was actually nothing out of the ordinary for him. Not long after, Suwen entered the room bringing a few self-made pills, also conveniently sparing no effort in fully using the spiritual aura distribution to replenish everyone's vitality. Su Xing then asked her about a few of Ancestor Bailey's materials. As expected, Suwen was worthy of being called the efficacious star, the divine physician. Panaceas and grasses of all kinds. Not unaware of any, seeing that red petal, Suwen went blank. Lifebound heart flower. The lifebound heart flower was a strange flower, used to forge magic weapons and artifacts. Every petal reacted to one another, and pouring it into a sword art, or into a sword array, could make the power of the magic energy exhibit the greatest levels. Moreover, pouring into the lifebound heart flower, even if other people obtained it, It was difficult to erase the original owner's divine intent. This kind of strange flower, according to the market value in gold, one stalk was worth a minimum of 10,000 pieces of platinum. In gold, that was 100 million liang, at the very least. That jadeite bamboo was even more serious. And Suwen nearly shouted when she saw it. 1,000-year suppressing evil gem bamboo. 5 suppressing evil gem bamboo was a what category of supreme grade spirit item. And this item had a deity effect. The magic weapons forged from this could exorcise and suppress demons. The pure spiritual energy contained in the 1,000-year suppressing evil gem bamboo could steadily nourish cultivators and expand their magic energy. This kind of thing basically was invaluable. And there was hearsay the heavenly gem valley 6 merely kept a little. This old Taoist unexpectedly collected such a rarely seen thing. Shi Yuan was speechless. Could it be he was gathering the heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5 elements swords materials? Wu Xinjie was amazed. Heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5 elements sword? And Suwen went blank. Su Xing promptly opened the heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5 elements swords wooden chapter. Taking a look, he drew in a breath of cold air. For the heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5 elements sword to forge a wood element sword, the main ingredients happened to require a stick of suppressing evil gem bamboo, a lifebound heart flower, and some putua black bamboo sand. 7. Su Xing opened those flasks, and he really found a purple and green bottle. Inside was precisely the putua black bamboo sand. Then isn't that saying master currently can forge a wood element magic sword? Lin Yingmei unexpectedly said. I'm afraid not. Su Xing shook his head, a little regretful. Although the materials to forge a wooden sword were complete, the jade strip had the seals and the procedures for the magic circle, and such to forge it. What Su Xing understood about weapon refinement was merely limited to a few of Wu Tai's experiences and notes. Classified as that sort of grade of beginner, who just got his foot in the door. To forge this kind of divine weapon, how could Su Xing have any background? It could be seen from Ancestor Bailey retaining these materials, and not refining that he could not be careless about this matter. What a pity, what a pity! Shi Yuan really felt this was too pitiful. If we let the gold coin spotted leopard Tang Long 8 forge it, then it isn't impossible. Wu Xinjie muttered, asking, Do you know where Tang Long is? The gold coin spotted leopard Tang Long was an expert in forging and weapon refinement in the 108 star generals. Using her abilities, forging this was not any sort of problem, and Suwen and Shiqian shook their heads. The gold coin spotted leopard Tang Long's star was the solitary star, and her natural disposition was very reclusive, practically wishing to never encounter any star generals. In the past star duels, the solitary star Tang Long often was in the final few stages. Only when her identity was revealed would she be found by other star masters. Speaking from a certain kind of respect, her presence concealment was even more powerful than Shiqian's. Since this approach would not work, the sole method was only to do it themselves. Having ample food and clothing, giving this to other people, no one could be relieved. As it happened, Su Xing also wanted to experience refining bullets. Shopkeeper Su, something's happened. This moment, the nervous yell of a waiter suddenly came through. And Suwen walked out, and in less than 10 minutes she returned. The divine physician's face carried a trace of a grave expression. Big brother Su Xing, all of you sisters, let us quickly depart. What's happened? Everyone was stunned. And Suwen bitterly smiled. Suwen was careless. Someone has discovered the relationship between the cottage and big brother Su Xing, and informed the blooming watersword sect. Right now, there is currently a great quantity of cultivators here to arrest big brother. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.